Are you ready?
I'm a lady!
And welcome to iDOL Days, the show about idol anime. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Star.
Wow! Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, everybody! It's the first episode of 2021. Hey!
Hey! Segway.
We didn't plan an intro.
No! Segway, I woke up today, did you?
No, I'm still sleeping, Sarah.
Womp womp.
Okay, well, we didn't plan a good intro. Our first episode of 2021 is Wake Up Girls! Hey!
Hey!
So, welcome to the first episode of the new year, everybody. We are talking about not a new anime. It's an older anime. Mm-hmm. It's not like ancient or anything, but it's a couple years old.
Yes.
Wake Up Girls is a weird one.
Yes.
It is a show that I enjoy a lot, and it has definitely had its fair share of production problems.
And then for me, this is my first time watching Wake Up Girls.
Yeah, so I watched this show. I watched the first season as it was coming out. I believe around 2014, 13. It's one of the bigger, like if we had to narrow it down to a handful of shows that you should watch if you're an iDOL anime fan, this is going to be one of them.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the characters, because there's 7 girls, and they're all good beans.
Yes, there are 7, and they're like, there's a song later about there being 7 of them. So, 7.
Yeah, so I'm going, I forget, I can't remember what order they're introduced in, because they're all kind of introduced at once. Mm-hmm. But I do have a picture in front of, ooh, you know what? We could go in rainbow order.
Oh.
Because these girls have image colors that are not super obvious unless you're looking at their idol costumes. So yeah, so let's just go through the girls, and I think rainbow order will probably be easiest. Our arguably main, most important character is going to be Mayu.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of has like shoulder-length brown hair. She's the red one. She is the main character. She is not main character energy type of main character, though. Yes. She's the main character because she has the most plot revolving around her, which we will get into. But her basic gist is that she used to be an idol in this massive, uber famous idol group, and then she quit for reasons which we will discuss, and now she is a member of Wake Up Girls, which is the smaller group.
Yes.
And we're going to go into like why they join and what their stories are, etc. But for now, we're just giving you guys a very general. So then the orange one is Miyu.
Miyu and Mayu. Remember?
Yeah, okay. So here's the thing about that. The characters in Wake Up Girls are all named after their voice actresses. Yes. So we have Mayu, who's the red one, and Miyu, who is the other one. But then there's also Minami and Nanami, and I'm like, you couldn't. This is confusing.
Rename your characters.
Name your character something else, maybe. I recognize the sentiment, but it's very confusing.
Yes.
Anyway, so Mayu is the main character. Miyu is the orange one. Mm-hmm. She's cute. I like her. She's got like long light brown pigtails. She's one of the most genki. Yes. She's the most idol personality out of all of them.
And I think she's also the tallest one out of the group.
Either her or Kaya, they're both very tall. Which is cute because you don't often see the cutesy type characters be the tall ones. Yes. So that was kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a good bean. She's got the most like idol energy. Mm-hmm. She worked at a maid cafe, and so she's kind of got that personality. Then the other pigtail character is Minami.
Mm-hmm. And she's the small
bean, good precious angel bean. She's got like little bitty brown low pigtails. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of like, how would you describe her personality?
She's like, well, I mean, she is a kid, right? Like, I think in the show she's like 12. So she's like the kid, but she spends all her time around old ladies. So think a mature kid who's still very much a kid.
Yeah. She's the most kiddish and maybe kind of naive. Mm-hmm. But she's such a good bean, though. She's doing her best. And then the green one is Kaya. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if she's the oldest, but she feels like the oldest.
Yes, and she has like the mature personality. She has long hair without bangs.
Yeah, she got that forehead energy, though.
Yes, and her backstory is that she's just worked a lot of odd jobs up until iDOL time.
Yeah, she goes through several jobs, just in the movie even. And so she's the hardest worker, arguably, just because she's got a lot of jobs. She lives by herself, so she supports herself. She is my second best girl. Mayu is my best girl, but I also really love Kaya. She's great. And then we have Light Blue, who is Yoshino.
Yes.
They usually call her Yopi in the show, which is her nickname, and that's probably what at least I'm gonna call her, because they almost never call her Yoshino in the show. Yes. She's just Yopi.
And I guess similarly, Mayu is sometimes called Mayuchi, which sometimes helps distinguish Mayu from Miyu when you're just listening to it.
Yeah, they all have little nicknames, and it's actually really cute if you listen for it. The subtitles on Crunchyroll, at least, don't usually do the nicknames, but they're cute.
They are cute.
They call each other nicknames. It's very sweet. So Yoshino Yopi is, she kind of looks like Chihaya, but she doesn't act like a Chihaya, I would say. So she's got kind of like the long blue hair, with like kind of straight across bangs. She is the leader of Wake Up Girls. Yes. So she kind of like takes on a lot of responsibility. But she's also kind of self-conscious. Self-conscious is not the best word.
Serious.
She kind of doubts herself a lot.
Yeah.
Serious, yeah. Yeah, so she's kind of like the stern one, somewhat. It's a little bit hard to put like adjectives on these characters because they aren't really tropey at all. Like, they have aspects of their personality, but they're not like, oh, this is the shy one, this is the Genki one. Like, their personalities are more than that. At least I feel.
I guess so. I agree to disagree with that, Star.
I'm comparing it to, like, shows like Love Live and Idolmaster, where, like, characters are very much one thing.
That's fair. I feel like they do fit into other anime tropes, though, a lot of them.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, they are anime characters, so they're going to fit into some tropes, but I feel like it's hard to put them in a single box sometimes. Anyway, the next one is Irie.
She's like the normal one. Normal type.
Yeah, she's
the normal type
yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah, so she kind of fits in the role that, like, oh god, I'm blanking on her name. Shy one from Love Live. Hanayo. I kept wanting to say Hanamaru, but that's not it.
She's kind of like the Hanayo. Yep.
Yeah, her personality is like, she's kind of bland. She doesn't have much going on for her. She does kind of grow out of that a little bit, but like at the very first, she's like, I don't really have anything special about me. She's the Yukiho almost, but she's not quite as shy.
Not as extreme.
No. And then the last one is Nanami.
She's the rich girl.
Yeah, she's the most like performer out of all of them. If like, 'cause her whole thing is like she wants to be in the Hikarizuka, which is definitely not Takarazuka, which is the, like, is it fair to call it Japanese Broadway almost?
Yeah,
like,
but
I feel like that's the closest comparison.
It's Japanese all-female Broadway almost.
Yeah, yeah. We could go into talking about Takarazuka, but basically all you need to know is, like, it's an all-female theater troupe that's very, very well known in Japan. She wants to be in it. And so she joined the idol group because she sees it kind of as a stepping stone to getting where she wants to be. She's the one who takes performing the most seriously. She's also the most, like, kind of blunt and straightforward about, like, what she wants. So there's that.
Yeah. So those are our 7 girls, but then there are 2 other very important characters who are the people who work at the studio.
Yeah, so they kind of tag along with the girls the whole time. They're equally as important characters, I would argue. So Sarah, why don't you tell us about them?
So their producer is Matsuda.
Death Note was too stressful, so he became an idol producer.
He's a producer. So basically this idol company, you find out pretty early on in the movie itself, is not known for producing idols. They produce more local talent. So Matsuda does not have idol producing experience. He's kind of a wishy-washy person. It seems like he works at this industry and he sees it more as like a job than a passion. But he kind of, the president of the company kind of steps all over him constantly. And he gets stepped on by outsiders as well.
Yeah, he's very much like spineless almost. Like he's trying, but not. He's not trying. He's not ganbarimasen. He's just trying.
Yep. And then the president of the company is this lady named Tenge. And she is like smoking, like not like smoking as in hot, like she's always smoking cigarettes. She's like,
and people are like, it's kind of a running gag where they're like, you can't smoke in here, and she'll be like smoking a cigarette right next to a no smoking sign.
She kind of has like a sleazy businesswoman sort of personality, where she's always like looking for like, you know, money and the next big thing, but like still has like a relatively keen business sense.
Yeah, like she's got connections in the entertainment industry, and that's the whole reason why she's not a total failure at this, but like she's very much kind of like the sleazy money-grubbing producer type. Because, so I think that's kind of a perfect segue to jump right into it, because so we're going to start with the movie. So the movie number 1 is called 7 Idols, Wake Up Girls. And it starts immediately with the president and Matsuda in the office. One of their last talents has just quit to move to Tokyo, and they see an ad for an idol group on TV, and then Tenge's, the president, is like, idols, that's how we're gonna make money. Matsuda, go find me some idols. And he's like, okay,
let's do the idol search now. Do we want to talk about what the idol group is, since they get brought up a lot in the series that they were inspired by?
Yes, because actually, yeah, we actually skipped a short scene just because I wanted that segue. So the main idol competition in the series is kind of the first thing you're introduced to in the first movie, and that is iDOL Club. And this is basically, you can tell they are definitely supposed to be AKB48.
Oh, for sure.
They're this huge idol group. They're like uber famous. The movie opens on them performing in this gigantic arena. And overdubbed over this scene of them performing at this giant concert is some narration by our main character, Mayu, the red one. And she's like, there are 3 ways to make people happy. You can make lots of people happy, you can make the people around you happy, and you can make yourself happy. And that's a theme that comes up multiple times.
Yes.
So then we cut to the talent agency, we get the go get me some idols scene, and then we cut to Matsuda just kind of trying to get idols.
He's trying
being the key word.
Yeah.
He's trying and failing. So, he's really not good at this.
So the talent agency is based in Sendai, so they are not in Tokyo. They're still in a major city, but, you know, pretty far north. Everyone's like, hey, this is not Idol Town. Why are you accosting these children? Please leave.
Yeah, it like everyone he asks, he's like, hey, do you want to be an idol? They kind of treat him like a skeezy, like, why are you talking to me? No, there's no idols here. Go away.
Yeah, what are you doing? Why are you here? Please leave.
And like, so kind of in the process, he goes up to a couple of random like groups of girls, and we actually do see some of the future main characters in these shots, and they all also kind of treat him like, goodbye.
Not you. Goodbye. In the end, I think
you.
The only person that he himself scouts is Miyu, the maid cafe girl.
Yeah.
And she just kind of looks like, yeah, I want to be an idol. I like singing, dancing because I like the maid cafe. So
yeah, and one of the other things she says is, I was going to audition for iDOL Club, that big group of idols, but she couldn't afford to move to Tokyo for it.
Which fair.
So this is the next best thing.
Yay!
Yeah. So so it kind of cuts back and forth a lot between the different main characters during this first part of the movie. In here somewhere, there's a very brief scene. Mayu, our main character, and Irie, the normal one, they both go to the same school, and they're already friends. And so a couple girls from their class approach Mayu, and they're like, hey, you used to be an idol, right? You used to be in iDOL Club, right? Hey, what's the deal? We heard you quit, and everyone's calling you the fallen idol. What's your story? You should tell us. And she's like, nah.
Not right now. Nah.
Maybe later.
We'll see.
I don't owe you shit. She's not sassy like that. She's just very much kind of ignores them. But this is your first hint that Mayu has a tragic backstory. So yes, at some point, they put out an ad for the idol agency in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And so then we cut to auditions.
Yes.
So all of the girls have sent in their various audition forms.
Mm-hmm. Or have been scouted by Tenge or Matsuda, because I think Tenge picked up Yoshino and Minami, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So we see their audition forms and also just like kind of how they were scouted. So Nanami, the ponytail one, the purple one, she is a pianist and a very experienced performer. So she takes her audition very seriously. Airi, shy girl, has no experience, but she auditions anyway and wants to try. Kaya, our green hard worker one, she saw the ad in a magazine and decided to audition. She also got fired from her last job. And then the president scouted 2 more, who's Minami, our little baby child, who won a singing contest. And Yoshino Yopi, the blue-haired serious leader one, she was a model. Mm-hmm. And her thing was, like, she tried to go national and she didn't make the cut.
Yep.
And so she's like, I guess I'll be an idol instead.
Yeah, maybe I can promote myself here and get bigger later.
Yeah. And so they look over all these photos and they're like, so there's 6. We still need a center.
And you're like, but you haven't even tested them together. Like, I get you need
really
the rainbow,
haven't.
But jeez.
He's like, no, we have to have the rainbows. It's a key deciding factor in any good idol anime. You have to complete the rainbow.
So
go get me a red one.
Go get me a red one. So at some point, Matsuda leaves the office and is just kind of wandering around town, and he sees Mayu singing on a playground, and he's like, you're gonna be the center. And she's like, nah.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about this scene, though? Because it's weird.
Yeah.
So basically, Mayu's like, she's standing on the swing and like singing to herself in a park, and a kid like runs out in front of the swing, and Matsuda like runs out to try and protect the kid, ends up getting hit by the swing, and then somehow Mayu ends up like straddling him, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I feel like overall Wake Up Girls I'm not a fan of, because I feel like it has a huge problem with deciding what its tone is going to be. Because like there's points where it really is like context-wise it's supposed to be serious, but then like either they add in like needlessly lewd things or like strangely like cartoonish, for lack of better word, things, which it makes it hard for like the serious themes to actually seem serious. Yeah, so I felt like even when there was something serious or you're supposed to connect to, it was just like, but then this other stuff is taking me out of it, so it feels really manufactured.
Yeah, what I tell people when they're getting into Wake Up Girls is like, it starts kind of gross. It gets less that as it goes on. I usually tell people, if you can make it past the 2nd episode without getting too grossed out, you'll be fine.
Though I will say,
that's really the worst of it.
Less than a gross thing is it just has problems with the tone throughout. And this is like one of the ones I can point to as like, hey, this is a sign that this tone problem kind of continues through.
That's fair. But yeah, so while she's like, he's laying on his back, she's like kind of on top of him, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. But she doesn't make a move to actually get off of him. She just kind of sits there for a while. And I'm like, move.
Yep. Hey.
You're in a very compromising position. Move.
Hey, what?
And
what are you doing?
Why are you so calm about this? And so at some point he like kind of grabs her arm. He's like, hey, do you want to be an idol? And then she slaps him and runs off. And I'm like, okay.
Alrighty.
All right, writers.
So,
anyways,
Guy ends up being like talking to Tenge, being like, yo, I found someone who could be your center. And Tenge's like, so you recruited her? And he's like, I don't even know what her name is.
Because he's bad at his job.
Yup. And Tenge's like, yo, you need to go out and find this girl.
And so this conversation happens when they're actually like doing auditions. Mm-hmm. So all the girls who have sent in their forms, they move on to the audition. And so they all gather in this room for the audition. And who shows up with Airi? It's Mayu again!
What? BFFs showing up an audition together.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mayu doesn't show up to audition. Yes. She just shows up as a moral support, and as soon as she gets there, she leaves. But Matsuda's like, there! That's the one I scouted and had an awkward situation with in the park.
And Tenkei's like, go run after her!
Go get her! Gotta catch them all! Bring me a red one!
Yup.
And so he runs out after her, once again asks if she wants to be an idol. Mm-hmm. And she's like, nah. Once again. He keeps trying to pressure her, even to a point where, like, he kind of stands in her way and kind of, like, crab walks in front of her, trying to get her to stop trying to run. Yep. So there's our crab square for our Idol Days episode bingo card. Crab reference.
Crab.
Cribs. So eventually she's able to get away from him, and he goes back, and the president kind of fills him in on her backstory. Turns out she used to be a center in iDOL Club, like that big idol group.
And one of, like, the original centers, like, back when iDOL Club was first getting big.
Yeah, and she said, but something happened, we're not sure exactly what, and then she graduated, she had to leave the group very suddenly, and then just disappeared. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, so I don't know why she's here, but she has idol experience, she's very well known, she's the golden ticket, we gotta get her somehow.
And at some point during his research, Matsuda also goes to, like, a tiny, like, CD otaku fan shop and buys a DVD of iDOL Club that had Mayu in it. Mm-hmm. So he has that on hand.
Yeah, and so he, like, kind of watches it as, like, research, but it's a weird DVD.
Yeah, it really is.
This is our second instance of shit is weird. It's, like, the front cover of the CD is, like, all the iDOL Club girls, including Mayu, in bikinis, and they're, like, 12, and they're dancing around in, like, cheerleader outfits in the DVD, and it's like, oh boy, mm-hmm. I know who the target audience for this was.
Yep.
Thanks, Wake Up Girls.
Thanks, Wake Up Girls.
Yeah, so eventually, Irie goes to Mayu, says she passed the audition, all the other girls passed the auditions, and then Irie tells Mayu that she should also audition, and then she's like, oh, wait, sorry, I keep forgetting that you have bad experience with idols. And so they kind of brush it off.
Yeah, so Mayu is, like, supporting her friend, but not getting into it yet herself.
Yeah. So the 6 girls who have been recruited meet up at the talent agency, and they are given the name for their group, which is Wake Up Girls. Title drop. Yeah. Title of the anime. It's WUG for short.
Yes. Tenkei also references Wham, so welcome all of you guys. Wham-pocalypse is over for the year. We're here.
You got whammed in the first episode of the podcast. Congratulations. But yeah, and then so Matsuda knows that Irie is Mayu's friend, mm-hmm. and he's like, hey, do you think you could get Mayu to audition? And Irie's like, probably not. And then the other girls, turns out that some of them have heard of her, because she's mm-hmm. famous, and they're like, are we trying to get her to join the group also? Are we a full group yet? Why is she not here? She wasn't on auditions. What's the deal? Mm-hmm. And Irie says, I asked if she wanted to join, but she says that idols are a source of pain for her.
It's like, geez, Mayu, chill out.
Like, on the one hand, I get it, but on the other, it's very dramatic.
So dramatic.
Like, that is the one thing about this show. Well, one of several things. It's definitely a dramatic show, but it goes very, very dark.
I was gonna say, the amount of drama they put on things to, like, what actually happens, it's like they talk about things as if they're so much worse than what actually mm-hmm. happens. It's like, it's okay. Mayu's allowed to just say no.
Yeah, like, Mayu did have a shitty thing happen to her in her past, which we're gonna talk about when it gets brought up in the anime, but it's very, very dramatically played up.
Oh, yeah. And at this point, they're implying something way worse, because they're like, we saw you with this other guy, and you're like, did something like that happen with this kid? But don't worry, mm-hmm. it doesn't go there, so don't worry about that.
It doesn't go there, but like, that's the thing. That's the thing in the show, is that there are a lot of rumors going around, and so no one's really sure what the truth is.
Yes.
So the end of this scene is that all the girls are walking home, and they pass a love hotel. Mm-hmm. Called Wake Up Girls.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, I guess that's where our name came from.
And that's the only time it's mentioned.
Yup.
Yay.
Yay! So that's another ping for the grossometer.
Oh, wake up, girls.
Oh, wake up, girls. Just take a shot every time the show gets gross.
Yeah.
And we'll be here a while. So, the next day, Airi, the normal one, Mayu, main character, and Matsuda all kind of meet up in the park.
Mm-hmm.
He shows her the video that he bought and is like, hey, I watched this tape of you. And she's like, are you harassing me? And he's like, no, I just wanted to let you know that you're a good idol and you can make a lot of people happy if you perform. And Mayu's like, I can't even make myself happy. And so she leaves. And so there's that theme coming back again.
Yes, and while she's leaving, Matsuda, like, slips the DVD in Mayu's bag, so Mayu has the DVD now.
The DVD has been passed on.
Yes.
And then Airi, as she's walking away, Airi kind of, like, apologizes. I'm sorry I dragged you into this, but also, I wish you would sing again. And I'm like, girl, you know she doesn't want to be an idol. You're being very pushy.
You're not being a very good friend at this point, Airi.
No, not really.
Like, really?
It's like, I get it, but also, like, leave it alone. It's a touchy subject. You're not very good at, like, you're kind of butting in quite a bit, girl.
Come on.
Come on, she obviously doesn't want to do it. So she says.
Mm-hmm.
So Mayu gets home. She gets a text from a friend who is still in I1 Club.
Mm-hmm.
And this sends her into a PTSD flashback where we just see her and this friend, like, in a stairwell crying very dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what that's about.
Yep.
She texts the friends back, she goes down to dinner, and we see that her and her mom have a very, very tense relationship.
Yes.
And it doesn't really talk about why yet.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
So, back at the office with the rest of the girls, the president is trying to get them a song.
Yeah.
So, I forget exactly which one it is, but, like, the first one's, like, enka or something, which is, like, Japanese folk music.
Like, so essentially the president's trying to get them a song, so she's trying to commission a song, but she's, like, the cheapest lady, so she's just trying to get, like, the cheapest song she can get, and she's having trouble finding people who can actually write good music. At least for idols.
So the first one's like folk music. The second one I think is like screamo metal.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually she calls in the cavalry and she's like, okay, I'm actually gonna like contact some real idol song producers I know.
Yes. And the group that she contacts is called Twinkle. It's a duo, and apparently they were helped by Tenge to like get their footing when they first entered the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm. And so they're not super important characters, but they do show up a handful of times.
Yes.
We're almost done with the movie, though. We're getting there.
Yeah.
So once they get their song, they start practicing, and Mayu kind of like comes to practice. She like walks Airi to practice occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
So these two are together a lot. They're obviously very good friends. And then at some point while they're practicing, Mayu kind of like watches sadly out the window and like kind of dances along with what they're doing. And it's like, okay, so she obviously misses being an idol, but she's got some kind of idol-based trauma. I wonder what that's about.
Also at this point, around now, the girls are announced, like, along with their new song, they are going to have a Christmas concert, and that will be their debut at, like, this, like, small arena concert venue in town.
And so they're going to put out a single of their new song, and so they get the huge box of CDs. They've got this concert coming up. Everything's going great for them, sort of.
And then they get ghosted by the president of the company.
Yup. So Matsuda shows up to the office one day. Her desk is completely cleared out, and there's a note saying that she's leaving Sendai for a while. And he's like, oh, fuck. And
then Matsuda realizes that she didn't pay the company who made the CDs. She didn't pay for any of the promotion material. She didn't pay for the office space they're using. And she didn't pay for the concert venue.
So she just took their money and ran.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So all the girls are like, well, what the shit are we supposed to do then? And Airi, there's a scene where she cries to Mayu, and she's like, oh, I wanted to be an idol, we were so close, and then everything fell apart, oh no!
Oh
And this causes Mayu to go home and watch the DVD that he gave her. And she gets very upset watching it, because I guess she's just, like, nostalgic. She's like, oh, man, I did like being an idol. Damn it. I guess I'm gonna go join the idol group now.
So she runs in the rain. Into
the rain. Because, of course, it's raining. So meanwhile, back at the office, everyone's like, we should disband the group, but maybe we could at least perform what we have so it didn't all go to waste. The other girls are like, yeah, even if we don't have our concert hall or anything, we can still perform just once and then we'll break up. And then Mayu busts in the door, soaking wet, and she's like, you can't disband the group. You'll regret it if you give up. And she's like, I gave up on being an idol, and being hurt made me want to not perform anymore. But helping Irie with this idol thing has made me realize that I do enjoy being an idol and I want to try again. Let me in your idol group.
Yep. So, they're all like, okay, sure, we have nothing to lose. You're in the idol group.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Yopi's kind of like sus. She's like, are you sure you can handle it? You didn't even audition. Mayu's like, yeah. And
then Irie's like, oh, she helped me practice. So I think that reassures them a little bit. But
yeah. And I think Kaya's the one who's, the green one, she's the one who's like, okay, well, I guess we're only gonna have one concert, we might as well go out with a bang. And then Matsuda's like, I'll try and find us another venue. Give me a few days.
So the only venue he could book last minute is, like, a slot at, like, a Christmas metal music festival.
It's like an outdoor student venue metal concert showcase, and there's like no one there.
Because also, in addition to the fact that it's like a student metal showcase, it's also like snowing and the weather's really cold, so nobody wants to go to an outdoor concert.
I think it's like there's some sort of outdoor festival going on or something, but it's very much like not crowded. It's a real little event. But the girls are all ready to go on. They don't have costumes, so they all just go in their school uniforms, and they don't really match at all, and so they're just like, oh, this is gonna be weird and awkward.
Yep. Also, in the audience, there is somebody who, like, looks at the flyer, like, goes to the audience because they look at the flyer, and they recognize Mayu's name. So they're like, yo, what's going on here?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they ever tell us his name, but this fanboy comes up quite a bit, especially towards the end of the show, so just remember that he exists.
Yes, fanboy.
So, we need to cross off another gross point on the grossometer. Because there is a weird... So all the girls are obviously, they're wearing their uniforms, so they're all wearing, like, tiny skirts. And the song, of course, has a lot of, like, twirling and jumping. And so they're like, oh, no, are you guys all wearing nice panties? I need to get you some show-off panties, because the audience is going to see your underwear. And it's just like, okay, we didn't need to go here at all.
And so then, during the dance, there are a lot of really detailed rendered panty shots. Like, they spent a lot of money, like, drawing lace on this underwear.
Yeah, like, these are the best animated shots in the dance number.
Yep, so...
I used to show this video at my panel, and I would be like, okay, everybody, it's time for Scream When You See Panties! And it was like the whole time, people were just like, ah! Panties!
Yep, so they made that decision for the movie.
Yep. Aside from that, though, this is a very good dance number.
It is a very good dance.
So the song is called Tachiagare, which is a stand-up in Japanese, and I love... So, Wake Up Girls has some awesome music.
I really enjoy the music.
I love the music from Wake Up Girls, and so this is the first song we get. And it's kind of like dramatic. It's not what you think of when you think an idol song.
It feels like almost like a song that would be like an intro to an anime.
Yeah, kind of.
Like it feels like a theme song more than an anime song, or like a
for
Sentai.
Like a dramatic show.
Yeah.
So we kind of like we fade out of the dance number, and then like we see the first like quarter of the song, like through the first chorus, and then the rest of it just plays over the credits.
Yes. And then after credits, there's an audience member, the one guy who's the fan and recognized Mayu, and he's standing up and he's like, encore, encore. And the girls are like,
it's really cute.
Oh, we have fan?
Well, no, so this scene's really cute, though, because, like, they're just talking directly to him because he's, like, the only one in the audience, aside from, like, 3 other people. And they're like, we only have one song, though, and he's like, that's okay! And he does, like the circle above his head.
Yep.
And it's really, really sweet. This fanboy character is, like, he's the best. He shows up multiple times.
I love the fans in the show. I think they're really cute characters.
Yeah, like, we never get names for them. I think we might get a name for the main guy, but I'm not sure if it's ever revealed in the anime. But the point is, he's great. The fans of the show are great, and so he is the very first one that we meet, and he kind of, like, champions them for the rest of the series.
Yes.
So that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So the movie is weird in that it's just kind of a long episode, basically.
Because the rest of the series just kind of follows the movie directly in sequence. Like, the next episode is immediately after the movie.
And so, like, the movie actually got a theatrical release. But it's only 50 minutes.
Go see those panties on the big screen.
The gigantic panty shots. So yeah, episode 1. We start with a very, very brief recap of the movie.
Yep.
In case you haven't seen it.
If you haven't seen it, it's so confusing. I tried watching Wake Up Girls a few years ago, and I started this first episode, and I'm like, what's going on? Who are these people?
No, really? You never told me that.
No, I tried watching the first episode a few years ago, and then I was like, I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. Yeah, because, like, you wouldn't know who any of the characters are.
No. They're referencing a concert that already happened. Completely confusing.
That sounds like me when brief segue, but when I tried to watch AKB0048, which is a show that we are definitely watching in the future, just because of how Crunchyroll's website worked, I accidentally watched the first episode of the second season first.
Oh, that's gotta be confusing.
And they're like in, it makes no sense. You're just jumping into the middle of this plot. They're in court, and there's like hoverboards, and I'm like, what's going on? So don't watch watch the movie.
Yep.
Wake Up Girls first,
and then season 1.
And watch season 1 of AKB0048 first.
Yes, definitely.
Anyway. So we get an opening song, but it's not the forever opening song. So they use Tachiagare again. And a lot of the footage is just from the movie.
Yep, so it's kind of a summary.
But there's also, like, a short scene before the intro of, someone posting on a website that I'm going to call Fictional 4chan. They mention, like, this comes up a lot because it's, like, kind of how you see the fan reaction to certain things. And so someone, presumably the fan at the concert, is posting that Mayu was at this concert, and most of the people posting, like, are like, you're lying, that's not true. He's like, no, look, here's the flyer. It's got her name on it and everything. And we'll come back to that.
Yeah, in the future. So it's New Year's, so you assume it's been, like, at least, like, a week since their Christmas concert. And they're all like, hey, we had a great time. So all the girls are separately, like, doing their New Year's routine, but they're all, like, thinking about their performance. And then, so, like, Mayu and Irie are visiting the shrine, and Irie's like, I hope that Wake Up Girls can have a future this year. And then, like, Kaya and Yoshino, like, end up going to, like, the production studio, but they're like, oh, no one's here. And Miyu ends up showing up, too.
So, like, Miyu's really enthusiastic. She's like, you know what? If we all work really hard, then maybe we can get the company back on track. And then we cut to Matsune. He's just got, like, this pile of bills on his desk at home. And he's like, we're fucked, son.
Yup. But eventually he actually ends up going into the office and runs into the 3. So he runs into Irie. He runs into Miyu, Kaya, and Yopi. And then he's like, you know what? We're just going to get everyone together and let's talk about the situation. So he calls the other girls over.
So it's meeting time. Dead idol group trying to get resurrected. It's not Zombieland Saga. This came out several years before that.
Yes.
Figuratively resurrected.
Resurrected.
Yeah. So it turns out that the office got contacted by a company who saw their Christmas concert and wants to manage them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, if we want to keep doing the iDOL thing, we really can't turn it down because Matsuda has no connections to the industry. And also they are very, very, very in debt.
Yes, definitely. So he's like, hey, if I can get this to work, are you okay working with this other production company and having me still kind of help you be managed? And all the girls are like, well, that's our only choice.
It's like, I wrote cautious but optimistic.
Yes.
Mm. And also important to note is that the main person they're going to be dealing with, and really the only person we meet, is named Suda.
Yep.
So at some point, Mayu's walking around, and she sees an ad like on a big outdoor television that iDOL Club, the big giant idol group, they are doing a national tour, and they are building a theater in Sendai, and they're going to be performing there. Mm-hmm. And Mayu watches this, and she goes frowny face.
Yes, she's like, oh, they're coming here. Mm-hmm. The people I know.
Yep. He's like, oh no, they're coming to me.
Dun, dun.
So Mayu tells her family about how she has a new idol job. She lives with her grandparents and her mom. Mm-hmm. And so the grandma is happy for her, but she hasn't told the mom yet. We get a replay of a concert scene from the movie. Mm-hmm. I guess in case you haven't seen it. Is like, here's this again.
Yep. Which is great. I was, again, just having these insert scenes doesn't mean it helps you understand what's going on. I promise
if you have not seen the movie. But yeah, so now we've reached the end of the first episode, and it's time for the girls to meet their new manager, and he sucks.
He's super shady.
Yep, he's a total sleazeball. I wrote that he dresses like a pimp.
Yep.
He's got, like, the gold chain around his neck. He's got real short hair. He just looks gross.
Super sus.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, he walks in and immediately, like, pulls this white bikini out of his pocket and is like, here, try this on. And all the girls stare at it like, what? And then the episode ends.
So here we are, episode 2.
Take a gross shot.
Yeah.
Tally mark for the grossness.
Episode 2 is just one giant tally mark for the gross shot.
Yep, like, listen, if this were a drinking game and it was like a thing of take a shot every time the show gets gross, mm-hmm. You'd be dead during episode 2.
Yeah.
But again, this is the lowest point the show gets as far as grossness. It eases up a lot after this.
Definitely. Which is good. And so episode 2, this one picks up again directly after the last one. So sleazeball guy's there and white bathing suits, and he's like, these are your new performance outfits because this is how you guys are gonna get famous as idols. And also you're gonna have a concert at a health club soon, like an all-male people going there and just relaxing at the spa all day health club.
Well, it's not all male, but the room they're performing in is.
Yes.
So the girls are like in their just plain white bikinis, lined up against a wall in front of a bunch of random dudes just like chilling in this random break room. And they're like kind of jeering at the girls and making nasty comments. There's a lot of gratuitous shots of their boobs and butts. The girls are very uncomfortable.
So like that's the other thing where like I feel like if they were trying to make a statement, the anime could have framed it better than rather having voyeuristic shots. But they were definitely pandering to the gross audience that watches the anime. And it's like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not actually helping the way you're filming it. It's making it awkward.
Yeah, no, like, you could argue, and I will argue this a little bit, I'm not excusing the boobs and butt shots. Like, I understand why they did it, because, like, that's obviously the gaze that the audience is, like, the audience in the show. Like, these dudes at the health club, they're very obviously like, this is where they're looking. So on the one hand, it's like, it's narrative, it's like showing, it's like, oh yeah, there's these idols, but we're only gonna pay attention to the titties. But at the same time, it's like, why are we even here?
But also, like, that could have been like a one shot, and not like every time you show them, you're looking at their boobs or butts, or you're having them dance. Like, you know, like, the show was doing this intentionally, not in a way that's like, it's not for show don't tell, it's to get more viewers who want to look at boobs and butts.
Yeah, it's like 5% show don't tell, 95% look at the titties.
Yeah,
and it's gross.
It is definitely gross.
But anyway, So the girls try to do their dance, and it does not work. They're super uncomfortable. The audience is being gross. The girls complain, and Matsuda tries to complain to Suda, their shady manager, and he's like, nope, you can't change the outfits, you signed a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And also he's like, hey, I1 Club does swimsuit photo shoots, so you need to stop complaining, because this is how you guys are gonna get famous.
Yep. And then after that, he's like, and you gotta go out there, because also part of the contract is you have to, like, not just do a performance, you have to serve the guests drinks and dote on them, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, let the guests take pictures and, like, do a photo shoot with the other guests at this health spa.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, like, calling out poses, and all the girls are super uncomfortable. And it's like, these girls are all underage.
Mm-hmm. So, at some point, like, the health club event organizer, so, like, Suda hired was hired by the health club event organizer. So it's like several layers of people in charge at this point, is like, hey, it's time to play the King's game. And it's not like Innocent King's game. It turns out that it's like, draw from this card. Oh, look, this random health club member gets to kiss Miyu. and
Miyu is not having this.
Yeah.
He goes in for the kiss, and she just fucking shoves him to the ground and runs. Yep. And I'm like, good for you.
Good for you, girl. So they all reconvene backstage, or in the back, and Miyu's like, hey, if this is what it's gonna be, I'm quitting, goodbye.
Yeah, which, like, good on her. But right after she storms out, who makes a dramatic entrance but the old president, Tenge?
So she ends up beating up both the health club guy and Suda. Being like,
yeah, she literally kicks their asses. She drags Suda backstage. I wrote that, like, she drags his almost beaten corpse. Calls Matsuda an idiot, screams at Suda for taking advantage of the girls, and demands that he give them the money back so that they can quit this gig.
Yes. So Tenge's back. And I guess, segue, this is the other issue I have with Wake Up Girls, is whenever there is something like a dramatic thing or like a challenge, they don't, like, stick with it. It's like, the president's gone, beginning of episode. President's back, 3/4 of the way through the episode. And it keeps happening like that. And it's like, let us have one thing to focus on that's just, you know, actually different. But that's alright. She's back. Tenge's back.
Anyway, yeah, she's back. But yeah, so so later after this gig, they're all back at the office, and she's like, oh, I left to find myself, and then gambled away all the company money. Miyu still has not come back, so a couple of the girls go out looking for her.
Yes.
And they find her at the maid cafe where she works.
And she invites them in, and she's like, hey, I don't know if I want to be an idol or not, but you should stay and watch me do a performance at the cafe.
So she does this little performance at the cafe, and she's kind of talking, and a few of her fans, like, she's got this group of fanboys who obviously frequent this cafe quite a bit, who are fans of her specifically. And so they ask, is like, how come you're back? What happened to the idol group? And she's like, well, I'm not really quite sure if it was for me. I've kind of been doubting myself. And also, like, she says her fans she tells the other girls, like, the fans at the maid cafe wouldn't treat me like those gross dudes. And so I feel like I'm more comfortable here. And
it is cute, too, because her fans, like, whenever she's like, oh, I'm not very good, and then, like, the fans from the audience at the cafe would be like, no, you're the best, Miyu! So just, like, super mega supportive. And, like, you know, again, they're not gross. Like, she would serve them, and they'd just be like, oh, so happy, but not like, oh, I'm gonna hug or kiss you. It's just like, you make us happy.
He's like, you're cute, and I like hanging out with you, versus the dudes at the health club spa who are like, hey, you're cute, I'm gonna grab your ass.
Yeah, so at some point, I think, was Mayu one of the people there? I forgot.
Yes.
So Mayu is, like, has an internal thought, like, wow, I didn't know fans could be this nice. And you're like, oh!
So that gives you an idea of what she's had to deal with.
Yep.
So anyway, after Miyu, maid cafe girl, kind of gets, like, this pick-me-up, she starts crying, and she gets very emotional, and she says, okay, I guess I'll keep doing the idol group.
Yeah, so she was encouraged by her fans to encourage her to pursue idoldom in the first place. So it's good that she has a supportive center back people story.
Yep. And so the next day, President gives them a new job. They're going to be regulars on a news show.
Yay! So their first, like, gig that isn't shady.
Yay! Ba-da-da-da-ba-ba.
Yeah, and it's, like, local news, too. So it's, like, you'll have happenings around the town news.
Yep. It's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we have, like, this one ending scene. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, basically, we have this huge room full of I1 club members, and they just kind of drop a couple hints about who's going to be performing at the Sendai stadium that they're building.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to that.
All right, and now it's episode 3!
Ba-da-da-ba-ba.
And we get to see the opening!
The actual opening is here.
The actual opening! And it's super cute. The song is super cute.
I love this song. So this song is Seven Girls War. It's a total bop. This is like the first time we actually see their iDOL concert costumes. They're like white dresses with little green bolero jackets and like little ties in their image colors. It's very cute.
Yes.
I cosplayed this many, many years ago.
Yeah.
Cosplayed Mayu, like back when, before the second and third movies came out. It was like right after, the show wrapped up.
The only thing that bothers me so much about these outfits are the little skin gap between the collar and the dress. It just makes me think...
no, it's so...
Visually, all I think is armpit sweat. Like, that's all I can think.
Yeah, because, like, there was a debate for a while, because, like, all the characters are so pale, unless you're looking really closely, it's like, is that a continuation of the dress, or is this a
It'd be so much cuter if it was the dress.
Is this a strapless dress with a sailor collar?
It so
and it
ugly.
Turns out, yes.
Like, it'd be so cute if it was not that.
Yeah, no, it's dumb. The rest of the outfit is cute, but it's like,
it just looks dumb.
It's like the only thing holding up this dress is the little bit of the sailor collar at the very front.
It makes me laugh.
The rest of the outfits are very cute, but yeah, no, that one part's dumb.
Just that one part.
I remember when the anime was first coming out, and people who were cosplaying these characters, there was kind of a debate online. It's like, is that part of the dress, or is that just like a weird skin gap? How are these dresses staying up? What the fuck?
What the fuck? How are the collars not twisting around?
My solution was see-through straps.
Ah, there you go.
But there you go. Yeah. Anyway, the opening is cute. That's all we need to know.
Cute.
So we pick it up. The president is trying to hype up the girls, but they're still very sus of her for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
They're like, is she gonna run out again? What's the vibe here?
Yup.
And so she tells them that they're going to be kind of on a variety show as part of this news thing. So half of the girls are going to be in a food review, and the other half are going to be doing a weather report.
While sitting in scalding water.
Yeah, they hinted this at first, but they're like, you can't... What's the excuse they gave for it? Is like, yeah, it's a variety show, and it's supposed to be more entertaining if you're sitting in a tub of scalding water while you give this weather report. And the girls are like, we're not gonna do that. Can we just, like, do something else? And they're like, yeah, okay, I guess you can wear animal costumes during the weather.
So the 4 girls who have the weather are wearing, like, very much, like, mascot suits. Like, as if, like, you know, they're at a football game. So, like, one's a shark and one's an eagle. I don't remember what else everyone else is.
So the girls actually do have, like they have image colors, they also have image animals. And you actually see these in the intro. I can't remember all of them, but I know that, like, Mayu is a lion, Miyu is an eagle, Kaya's an alligator, Airi's a shark. And so that's kind of like their patron animals, quote unquote. And so that's what they're wearing for this costumed news performance. It's like, yeah, they are mascot costumes, but you do see their faces. Like, there's a cutout where their faces are.
It's like they're being eaten by the animals.
Yep, it's very, to make an unfortunate reference, it's, what's the name of that horrifying movie? It's very Midsommar, actually.
Oh, hey! Like the bear!
Well before that movie came out.
This is the second Midsommar reference we've made to an iDOL show.
I still haven't seen that movie. But I just know what happens in it.
Yeah.
And there's a dude in a bear suit, and it's unfortunate. Anyway.
Yep.
So they do their costumed weather report. But then the other girls, it's Minami and Mayu and Nanami. Ponytail girl. They're the ones doing the food review. And so they do their first feud review kind of out in the rain, and all the girls are miserable, but Minami kind of saves it.
Yep.
Because she's very passionate about food, and she's a big eater.
She's a big eater. So, like, all the other girls, like, look at their food, and they're like, I don't know if I want to eat that. And Minami's like, oh, this is amazing. And she eats it, and she's like, this is the best thing I've ever had.
Uh-huh. But the problem is that she's such a baby, she really only knows how to describe food by saying it's delicious.
Yeah, she's just like, oishi, oishi. And then they're like, hey, the producers are like, hey, you should think of a different word besides oishi.
Mm-hmm. And so what she ends up coming up with is her catchphrase, which is like, they translate it as, it's delicious, meow. But it's like, umenya! And so everyone loves it. And so this is her thing now.
And at some point she gets, like, self-conscious. She's like, is it bad that I only say umenya? And then they're like, no, don't stop saying this.
Everyone loves it. Keep saying the thing. So we get a little bit of Minami's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
So she hangs around this, like, group of old ladies. I call it the grandma club.
Yeah.
She just has, like, a whole bunch of old ladies she hangs out with, and it turns out that they just, like, all live in old folks, they call it temporary housing, and I'm not entirely sure what that is. And so she would, like, perform for them.
Yes, and they apparently were all part of, like, a folk song club that was through that housing, society.
And so she likes to sing, and so she kind of got in with this club. And they tell her, it's like, we watched your group, or we watched your gourmet show, it's very cute.
Yeah. So all the grannies, like, super supportive of Minami. They, like, watch her on TV every time. Like, one of them made her a good luck charm, and Minami talks about how much she loves them to Mayu.
Yeah, it's very cute. So this is one thing I want to touch on. Because this is kind of the start of our character focus episodes.
Yes.
But I actually really enjoy the way that the character focus is done in this show. The issue with it is that not everyone gets the same amount of spotlight.
Yes.
But the characters that do, it's very naturally woven into the narrative.
Yes, I really enjoyed Minami's episode.
Yeah, so this is definitely Minami's episode, because we learn a lot about her, but it's so kind of organically woven into just the actual narrative that you don't start the episode like in an Idolmaster or a Love Live or what have you. You know before the opening song plays who the episode is going to focus on.
This one you gotta get like 7 minutes in, and then you know.
And then you're like, oh wait, this is a character focus episode, because it's so naturally woven in there. You don't realize it until it's already happening. And I thought that was very nice of them to do that. I really liked how the character development was kind of worked into the plot, as opposed to just a one-off episode where they do a thing, but then also it's a character focus. It's like, it's kind of a constant narrative that's chugging through, but you'll just like pass these character moments of, oh, we're going to pick this up a little bit along the way. Oh, here's some character backstory. We'll pick that up too. It just feels a little bit more naturalistic than it is in other shows, and that is one thing I like.
Yes. Though I will say it definitely depends on the episode. Not every episode.
Like a lot of the no, not every episode, no. Just some of the character development episodes are very nice. Like this is one of the better ones, I would argue.
Yeah, for sure.
But also not every character gets one.
Yeah.
So, like, you could also argue that Miyu's Maid Cafe Girl was episode 2, and half of her episode was spent on that bullshit.
Yep. I would consider that being her episode for sure.
Yeah, and it's sad. It's like, oh no, she spent half of her development episode in a gross place.
Yup.
But, I mean, you know.
Wake up, girls.
You do what you gotta do, I guess. Anyway.
So, Minami, however, no gross guys in her episode, thankfully, since she's the youngest.
No.
So
just
she
grandmas.
has all the support of all these Ovachans, and they're like, hey, we love you so much, and we heard that you're gonna have a mini concert coming up, and we're gonna go and support you. And it's like a concert that was put in part because of this TV show they've been doing with the news. Yeah.
And so I will touch, like, before we do this, there's one, like, very short little scene with Mayu and her mom. So the mom finds out about Wug and gets very upset, and she's like, why are you trying to make me suffer more? And then storms out.
You're like, okay.
So the mom is so contrasting with Minami and her very supportive grandma club. Mayu's mom hates that she's an idol again, and does not support her even a little bit.
Yes.
So now it's time for the day of the concert, and one of the old ladies from the old lady club is apparently sick at the hospital.
Yes, she apparently collapsed and is sick at the hospital. And so when Minami finds this out, she's like, hey, I can't do the concert. I gotta go to the hospital. Bye.
Yep. And so she kind of ditches the rest of the girls. They ditch her at the concert. And so at the concert, they're like, what are we supposed to do? Should we can just like try and change the choreography last minute and go on without her? And so they're struggling quite a bit, trying to figure this out. Meanwhile, Minami's at the hospital, but the grandma who's at the hospital is like, what are you doing? You should go to the concert. I want to see you perform. I'll be able to watch it on TV. And Minami's like, okay, if that's what you want.
And then,
but the grandma kind of gives her like a little cheer up. Is like, what would make me happiest is seeing you perform. And it's cute.
Yeah. So Minami goes back and they have their first performance in their new outfits.
Yeah. And again, they're very cute.
Yeah.
And so the concert's on local TV, so you see like a shot of the hospital grandma watching and pointing out to the nurses like, that's my adopted grandchild.
Yep.
We're all her grandmothers.
And then you don't know what happens to that lady in the hospital because they decide not to continue with that plot line. Bum bum.
No, I mean, you imply that she gets better because she's like, I'm fine, go on ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure we do see her, like, again later. Like, I didn't keep track of it, but we do check in with the grandma club quite a bit throughout the show.
I guess that's just, again, it felt like all the drama is so manufactured. So that's, like, the parts I liked, and it's like, but, like, the stakes were not as high as you're saying they are, you know? And it's like, just give me something that actually means something.
Yeah, I guess that didn't bother me too much, but I definitely see what you're talking about.
I think it's just because it keeps happening every episode. Like the presidents, the stakes weren't that high. The stakes weren't that high. It's like, give me something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then, like, there's a very, very quick end of episode scene. Word starts to get out that Mayu is performing again. And we see, like, some tabloids talking about her sudden retirement. Mm-hmm. We don't get too into detail on that. Once again, we'll come back to that later. Which is going to be kind of a key point in this show.
Yes.
Because they hint a lot before we finally find things out.
Mm-hmm. And again, a lot of this, too, is, like, through just, like, very short, like, 30-second clips. So it's not, like, very substantial. Like, we're summarizing it, but you're not missing much yet.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, here's a reminder that something happened, Dun-dun. And maybe you'll find out what in the future. The future. Anyway, episode 4.
They get invited to do a new thing, which is a 1-minute segment on a radio show. So they're picking up stuff.
Yup. So there's that. But meanwhile, at the same time, I believe this is like the first scene of the episode. I want to touch on this because it does become important. We're back on Fantasy 4chan.
Yes, Fantasy 4chan.
So the fan from the first concert is kind of like being like, I'm excited for Mayu to come back, but everyone's in the replies are kind of bashing her. Some shady reporters see the board and are like, oh boy, we're gonna milk the shit out of this.
Yes.
And at some point, Miyu, I guess, also reads Fantasy 4chan.
Which fair.
And so she sees this.
Yes.
So she knows a little bit about what's going on with Mayu.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so the girls now have this regular gig on a radio show. The composer girls appear and announce that they're going to have a new song. Things are looking up for our girlies.
Yeah.
They're finally getting back on their feet.
Yes. But at some point, Miyu takes Mayu away and is like, hey, do you want to talk about iDOL Club? Because we've been together for a while, and you still haven't told us anything about your past.
She kind of, like, asks why Mayu quit, and Mayu still, like, doesn't really want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Then at some point, the president gets a call from a documentary maker. It is like, they want to do a documentary about us, and it's going to get broadcast, like, nationally. This is going to be our big break. And it's definitely not suspicious at all.
And so their company is like, yeah, come on over and record us. And then the recording company is like, got them.
And so they, like, very quickly do these, like, super duper short interviews with the other girls, and then they call up they're like, why did you want to be an idol? Next. Why did you want to be an idol? Next. And then Mayu goes up and they're like, hey, so what happened with iDOL Club? You should tell us all the juicy details because this is a documentary.
And then they're like, hey, this is not a like Tenge and Matsu are like, wait a second, this is a documentary on WUG, not iDOL. What are you doing? Yeah.
And so they literally kick them out of the office. Goodbye.
Yeet.
Yep. She like does punch them. It's very good.
Yes.
She's like, let's get physical, punches this dude in the face. Love it.
And then we get a scene about iDOL Club. Like what they're doing.
And this is the part where we realize that iDOL is terrifying.
iDOL is like the you know, like in Karate Kid, you remember like the enemy dojo? That's what they are. So
that is not
strike hard, strike fast, no mercy, sir. They are the bad people in Karate Kid.
I'll take your word for it. I have not seen Karate Kid. I feel like I vaguely remember maybe seeing that one scene.
Yep.
But
so that's what they are.
Yeah, so like it's this giant room with hundreds of girls all learning the same dance. At some point, like it's almost like militant how uniform they are.
Yes. Because they didn't shake up the 3D model dancing at all, but it works for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it's like this is one of the few times that they use 3D is in this iDOL room, which makes sense because there's literally hundreds of characters.
Yeah, too many to draw.
Yeah, so the manager, the shady manager from iDOL, like goes up in front. He needs to use a megaphone because there's so many girls here. He tells them to work hard. We don't need idols who don't work hard. Kicks 4 girls out of the group, doesn't even call them names, he calls them by numbers. So he's like, number 97, number 384, number 1509, GTFO, you don't have to come back tomorrow.
And honestly, as propaganda for like not necessarily the anime Wake Up Girls, but for the actual real life group Wake Up Girls to get people to like those girls more than AKB, this is good propaganda. This is great marketing material.
Marketing for our homegrown organic idol group and
non-GMO idols.
But yeah, and so then he announces like 10 new members who are also just numbers. And then he's like, and now we will say the iDOL Club motto.
Strike hard, strike fast, no mercy, sir!
No, it's don't rest, don't complain, don't think, gratitude always. Holy shit.
Yep, and then you're like, wow, I think I'm gonna go buy a Wake Up Girls CD and go to a Wake Up Girls concert instead of going to see AKB.
Sarah, how dare you call me out on this? Of all the groups, like, I actually did get to go to a Wake Up Girls concert while I was living over there.
You fell for the propaganda! But no, their music is actually really good, though.
The music is actually really good. It was a very nice concert, and also it was really easy to get tickets for because they were not a very popular group.
Oh no.
Like you try to get an Idolmaster or a Wake Up Girl, or you try to get an Idolmaster or a Love Live concert ticket, you gotta like enter a lottery. With Wake Up Girls, you just go on the website and buy a ticket. It was really easy.
Well, that's fun though.
It was very fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that concert, but yeah.
You fell for the propaganda.
Listen, I fell for the propaganda right before the group literally disbanded.
Oh no.
It was like the last concert they did before their finale tour, before they disbanded the group a few years ago.
Well, hopefully they're on to better and brighter things.
Yeah, I mean, they basically said, like, we got what we wanted out of this, we're moving on.
Okay, good.
At that point. So they didn't disband because of drama. It was just like, yeah, we did the thing, we're done.
Good.
Yeah. So Wake Up Girls, the actual idol Seiyu group, is no longer a thing, but we have our memories.
Yes. And concert videos. Because that's what you can find.
And anime.
Yes, in the anime.
Yeah. And anime.
So at some point also with this iDOL section, I guess like, so the iDOL, like they have this big giant group hall, but there are like 4 and like within the four, two girls who like kind of are quote unquote more main rival characters. One of them, she has like long wavy hair and bangs, and I think she's Shiho.
Yeah, her name is Shiho because I guess in IDOL anime, if your name is Shiho, you're going to be an asshole.
The mean one. You're gonna be a Shiho. It's like the Karen of IDOL anime.
Oh no! God, she's such a Shiho. But yeah, so we have like a couple of I1 girls who are just like, oh hey, I heard that Mayu has joined a new idol group, and Shiho, this like she's kind of one of their centers now. I'm not sure if she became center after Mayu quit or if she was like just another center. Anyway, so she's like, Mayu's back. I'm gonna crush her.
Yeah, and we're gonna crush her in Sendai at our new theater.
Yeah. She's like very preoccupied with crushing Mayu. Like that's the only word she ever uses.
Yep.
Is like, you've got some problems, girl. You want to maybe go to a therapist about that? But no, she's just very competitive.
Yes, she's a Shiho.
She's such a Shiho. Oh my god.
But there's also a nice one. I forgot. I think she was like Megumi or something.
It's something. It starts with an M.
Yeah, but she's like, oh, but we really like Mayu, and she's also the one you find out who's been texting Mayu, with all like the happy cheer me up stuff from like the movie. Yeah,
she's the good bean, and then Shiho's the bad bean.
Shiho's the Shiho.
Chad, you're such a Shiho. I can't believe you. Oh man. Okay. So then at some point, after the botched documentary, the president kind of sits down with Mayu and is like, so something obviously happened. I'm not going to ask you to tell me, but you should figure out a way to like saying just get over it is more intense than it actually comes off in the show.
Yes.
But at some point, like, Miyu, with all the other girls, kind of, like, shows them the message board. And she's like, most of them are lies, according to the folks at the maid cafe, but Mayu's the only one who knows what actually happened. She obviously doesn't want to talk about it.
Yes.
So we don't know what's going on with Mayu still. It's a source of contention throughout the anime. Maybe someday we'll find out what her deal is.
And then at the very end, Mayu is, I guess, either going home from the office or school or something, and she's at a station, the train station, and she runs into Shio.
Cliffhanger.
Episode 5. Shiho is such a Shio!
You're such a fucking Shiho. God. So she kind of like negs her about Wake Up Girls. He's like, yeah, you looked really good. You really stood out from all the amateurs on stage.
Flips hair.
Basically, yeah. And so Shiho's like, so why'd you come back? Never mind, I don't care. And she walks off and she's like, just don't forget all the trouble you caused I1 Club, and then walks off dramatically. And it's like,
okay.
Okay.
All right, girl.
All right, you've got some problems. Go see a therapist, maybe.
At the same time, or the next day, the WUG girls get an announcement from their president saying, hey, we're gonna have another concert to make up for the shitty one you had before.
And their new song is finished also.
Yes. Unfortunately, they find out after everything's been booked that the concert is on the same day as the Sendai I1 Theater's opening by I1.
Yep. And I1 has ads everywhere. Yeah. Like any possible space they could be advertising, they are doing it. And meanwhile, Wake Up Girls is like, we're gonna have a baby concert in this tiny little venue. Please come. Maybe. And so that's gonna go poorly. We already know it's gonna go poorly.
Yeah. And also, so they start practicing for their concert. And they do their normal jobs. They practice for their concert, but you can kind of tell they're not like super great yet.
Yeah, they still kind of suck a little. We get another scene where the girls are kind of like talking about their concert set list, and Yopi just completely ignores the elephant in the room and is like, well, we've only got like 2 songs, so we should do some covers. What if we did an I1 Club song? And then everyone's like, awkward. Awkward. It's It's like, way to poke the elephant in the room.
But at the same time, Mayu, you've been with them, like, you guys should talk.
Just tell him what happened. Just tell him what happened.
At this point, they have Mayu in, but she's causing more problems than she's solving. Like, girl. I want to shake her.
It's like I understand that she doesn't want to talk about it, but at the same time, it's like I feel like you have reached a point where you probably should tell them what happened.
Aren't they supposed to be your friends?
No, they're just my idols partners.
Idols partners.
Yep. Anyway, so we get another scene of I1 rehearsal. They kick out a few more girls for being slightly off in the dance.
Yeah.
Like, no fanfare or anything. It's like, hey, you suck, get out.
And again, they all have numbers, which is why you should go to the WUG live concerts rather than AKB. Advertising.
Fantasy AKB.
No.
And also real AKB.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is the anime promoting the real idol song group over the real AKB.
Anti-idol propaganda.
Inside
Go to our homegrown, anti-GMO, homegrown...
fresh idols.
Organic idols. Instead of this massive corporation idols.
Mm-hmm. No one wants to go to the chain idols. You gotta go to your independent idol seller.
Support your local idols.
Support your local idols.
Shop small businesses. Support your tiny idols. Support your local booksellers and idol groups.
Do you want Jeff Bezos idols, or do you want your homegrown idols?
I'm sorry. Sarah, we can't do Amazon corporation idols. We can't will that into being.
No, that's true, because if this starts actually happening, it would...
You can't manifest that.
I don't want it to happen,
Amazon-sponsored idol group.
Do not deliver it to me.
You can't.
No.
You can't.
Anyways, Wake Up Girls. The girls are practicing at their new concert venue, and they still kind of suck. But at one of the practices, Twinkle shows up, and...
Yeah, they're composers.
Yeah, they're composers. And they're like, hey, do you want some tips? And the girls are like, yes, tell us even if you're gonna be harsh. And then Twinkle tells them, and it's harsh. And the girls are like, actually, we don't want to know this.
But yeah, so the one thing that they do say is like, if you guys aren't fighting, you guys need to be more honest with each other so that you can work together and understand each other better.
And you're like,
and
yes.
Yeah, and like Yopi like clearly wants to say something to Mayu, but it's like, it's not that easy. I can't just ask her about it. Because it's obviously an uncomfortable subject.
Yep.
So now it's concert day.
Yeah, concert day. And Wake Up Girls, and that's kind of fun how they did this shot. So it kind of cuts in between the Wake Up Girls concert and the I1 concert. And Wake Up Girls has a really tiny, itty-bitty, small crowd. In an itty-bitty, tiny, small theater.
Yep. And I1 has this massive theater with this massive, fully booked, like, concert hall that's filled with people, and they just kind of like cut back and forth between them. It's like, hey, do you see the contrast? Do you see the difference? Do you see it?
Do you see it?
And then the weird thing, okay, so like, this is great and all, but I would like to point out that like, when the Wake Up Girls, they're performing, they're very messy. They've somehow gotten worse than they were at their first concert.
Yeah, they have. They were pretty good at their first concert.
But now they're like, they've been idols for several months, and they're dropping microphones, and people are bumping into each other. And it's like, you guys did not suck this bad in the movie. What happened to y'all?
It's because they can't show their panties.
Oh, so they have to hold back now, and it messes with the choreography,
exactly.
I guess.
Now that they're real idols, they can't show their panties.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no. Good lord.
Anyway. While they're also while WUG is having their concert, there's a mysterious man who's watching them from the back, and you know he's going to be important because he looks designed special.
Yep, he looks like a character.
He looks like
and
a
not
character.
Just some rando. Yep. Also, the next day, the president chews out all the girls for sucking, and then the next day buys them all tickets to go to the I1 theater and show them what a real idol show is supposed to look like.
Yes.
There's a short, like, little handshake event after, like, as you're leaving, you can, like, just pass by, shake hands, and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And Mayu's friend is there, and Shiho is also there. Mayu's friend is really happy to see her, and it's like, hey, let's go get dinner later. But Shiho's, like, angry, frowny face.
Such a Shiho!
Yes, such a Shiho. God. And then she's like, Mayu says, it's like, you asked me the other day why I came back, and I think it's because now that I'm in this smaller group, I can finally love idols. And Shiho's like, what the fuck does that mean?
I want to stop going to iDOL Walmart. I'm going to go to my iDOL farmer's market.
I'm sorry. The concept of iDOL Walmart is great to me. Welcome to iDOL Mart.
iDOL Mart. I Wondle Mart.
Oh my god. Anyway, so the episode ends with the president talking to this shady guy backstage, and then to be continued.
Episode 6.
Pew, 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 pew.
And we pick up where we left off. We figure out who this mysterious man is, and he is a music producer, and his name is Hayasaka, and he wants to have Tenge let him produce the girls for free.
Yep. He's like, iDOL doesn't inspire me anymore. And so now I want to work with you guys, and I'm not going to charge you for it.
And picking up on that, he apparently also works with iDOL Club. He helps write their music, and also, from what I understand, helps with the training of the iDOL Club girls also.
Yes. So the girls are working their various, like, news reports and radio show, and then at some point, Hayasaka comes to the office to talk business. The president is very suspicious of him, but he's, like, extremely aloof about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. They have him sign something because they learned their lesson. They're like, hey, sign this form. Yeah.
But also, he notably does not tell iDOL that he is doing this.
Yes. He's like, they don't need to know.
They don't need to know. They don't control me. They don't own me. I am a strong, independent songwriter.
He also, like, uses a lot of metaphors, being like, these are raw potatoes, and I will cook them into a stew, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, he has, like, this one line about, I'm not sure if it's now or later, but he's like, when a mother lion drops her babies off a cliff, and she only raises the ones that crawl back up the cliff.
Simba!
And your idols are like potatoes, and potatoes can't climb cliffs, and it's like, what is your metaphor, dude?
So he's definitely very pretentious, very artsy.
Yeah.
But in the end, Matsuda and Tenge agree to the terms. So he is going to have them he's going to mentor them, like, the next week, and then afterwards he's going to decide if he wants to continue to work with them or not.
Yeah. And also, he gives them the conditions of, in exchange for his help, he gets full non-stop control over what the group does, basically.
So after the first, I guess, training session, he's like, you guys still suck, but I feel like there's potential, so I'm going to take over you guys for, I think it was like 3 months.
It's a while,
yeah. It's a while. But he's like, but while I'm in charge, I have permission, I'm in charge of everything, your schedules, what's going on. Matsuda and Tenge are just going to be there on the sides, like, maybe they'll help with bookings and stuff, but you're talking to me now, I'm the trainer, so we're going to have training, like, every single week, and they're going to be full-day training sessions, and then every other week, I think, you're going to have 3 concerts in, like, a day.
In a single day, yeah.
And he's like, this is
Which
practice.
Is a lot.
This is practice for the big leagues.
Yep. And so he makes him do, like, very, very intense vocal and physical exercises. They do a lot of concerts. The girls are, like, super worn out after this.
Yes. Except for Mayu, because even though she's out of practice, she's okay. You're like, all right.
She's used to it.
I guess so, but still. She hasn't been doing this for, like, half a year.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, I'm used to it.
More than anyone, Irie is struggling a lot. So she's the one who is the normal girl.
Yeah, she's just kind of like the plain one, and she's obviously, like, struggling more than any of the other girls are. And basically Hayasaka takes the president and Matsuda and is like, hey, Irie's holding them back, I want to cut her out of the group.
And they're like, no, you can't do that, we need a dark blue color.
We gotta have 7. We've already got the opening song, and it's called 7 Girls War. It's not 6 Girls War. We can't rename the song. Come on, dude. So at some point, after their rehearsal, Hayasaka makes Airi stay after. He's like, so why do you want to be an idol? Because you have no talent and you would be better off quitting.
And she's like, and then, like, she basically leaves without saying anything, and Mayu's waiting there for her, but she doesn't say anything to Mayu. She's like, I'm gonna go to Konbini, bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home, bye.
Bye.
Yep. So then we have another scene of the iDOL cult.
Yes.
It's not iDOL Club, it's the iDOL cult. Yep.
The evil crab
the
shack.
wall is. The evil crab shack! Oh no. What's a good name for an evil crab shack?
I don't know. The Red Lobster? Like, so you gotta go with the chain,
Lobster
right?
Zone.
Lobster Zone.
Lobster Zone. It's the crab shack and their rivals, Lobster
Zone.
Oh boy. Anyway, so the manager of iDOL Cult says that the Sendai concert was sold out, but 3 people who bought tickets didn't show up. And he points out that that could be because of the Wake Up Girls concert that was on the same day. And they're like, they might not be something now, but if we leave them alone, they could grow into something. So we need to break them down.
And you're like,
destroy the competition.
You're like, okay, like, I get it's supposed to be cartoony, but this is really extreme for the tone of the show at this point. Because, yep. On one side, you have, like, this interpersonal drama, and on the other side, it's like, we have all these, like, sneaky photos of this idol group, and we're super mega evil. And you're like, decide what you want to do, please.
It's very, very hyperbolic,
so that's
level
which is hard, because I feel like for me, like, the Airi plot would have been great if it wasn't contrasted with this iDOL plot, which made it just took me out of it, you know? It's like, come on!
Yeah, I feel like if iDOL Club got less screen time overall, because they're really not that important as characters, they're important as rivals, but, like, they get more screen time than some of the main characters do, arguably.
Yeah, and it definitely, again, they mess up the tone and the pacing of the show a lot. So it's like, it stops feeling serious whenever they come in. It starts being like, oh, it's just like a Batman cartoon. Because it's super evil guys, and they're looking after you.
These are the idol fascists, and now we're gonna go back to our cutesy idol group.
Oh, no.
It's I mean, that's the level that it's at.
No,
it's
it really
very
is.
It's like that level of intense is like, praise your love to the iDOL Club. We are the best idol group.
Yep.
And we're going to destroy anyone who competes with us.
Yep.
It's kind of buck wild.
So going back to WUG, they have their, 3 concerts a day time, and during one of the concerts, Airi falls down and falls into a speaker and, gets really sad and leaves for the rest of the concert.
Yep.
And at that point, Hayasaka's like, you guys are, the worst idols in the whole world.
Yeah, and the girls are all kind of getting sick of him.
Yeah.
Next practice, Airi just doesn't show up.
Yes.
And Hayasaka's like, well, we don't really need her, and I'm not going to continue your lessons if she doesn't come up. If she doesn't show up, I'm not going to continue your lessons, but also, if you guys don't agree to cut her from the group, I'm firing all of you.
And so, all the girls are like, and he's like, oh, by the way, you have 10 minutes. Bye.
Yeah, except they totally don't have 10 minutes because this goes on for a lot longer than that.
For sure.
Episode 7. This whole plot line was just, a little bit weird because it's like, you have 10 minutes to make a decision, and they go out to talk to him, and he's not even there anymore. Yeah. He leaves.
So, episode 7, so he's there, not there. Matsuda and Tenge run into Hayasaka, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he's like, yo, I know what I'm doing, and also you told me I could be in charge, so just let me do my thing.
Yeah, and the president's like, oh, you suck, but also, if they can't make it through this hardship, they won't make it in showbiz.
The showbiz.
the showbiz. Meanwhile, the girls are kind of like arguing between themselves and trying to decide what to do. Irie is at home being sad on the floor.
Yeah.
She has a lot of photos of the other girls on her wall, and she kind of like starts taking them down.
Yes.
It's emotional.
Yes. Yopi kind of gets pressured, and because she is the leader, to be like, hey, you have to make the decision. But she's like, I'm like the leader, but this is something that's like beyond me.
Yeah, it's like, I can't make this decision for the whole group. Why do you guys keep trying to push this onto me? And she's like, maybe this is the difference between us and I1 Club. We can't put aside our feelings just to get success. Mm-hmm. Nanami finally admits to the entire group that she just wanted to be an idol as a stepping stone for joining no copyright Takarazuka.
Hikarizuka.
The other girls are continuing to fight. Mayu insists that Wug can't exist without Irie, and the others eventually agree with her.
Yeah,
Mayu
but
says
like,
that
it's in a way where Mayu's like, I only joined because of Irie, and Wug's only here because of me. And you're like, Mayu, you're like very passively I just, Mayu, shake you! Like, do not! Mayu drives me nuts, I guess. But it's okay. Aww. Yeah. She's probably my least favorite.
Like, I like her character, but she's definitely written to be kind of like the source of contention.
It's like, come
I will admit that. It's like, I like her as a character, but I'm not sure I like how she gets treated by the show and how things are handled around her. I don't like her
as a character either. Shake.
Yeah.
Oh, but essentially they are all like, hey, I think our decision is we're gonna go find Irie and we'll try to deal with Hayasaka-san and convince him that, hey, you're wrong about Irie and she's important and we can have everything.
Mm-hmm. We can have our Irie and eat our cake too.
Yeah!
But yeah, so Yopi and Mayu go to talk to Irie. Mm-hmm. And they basically just kind of go give her a talk. Yopi like kind of admits that she's kind of scared of being leader.
Yeah.
But she asks Irie to come back, and she says, "This is my first demand as leader. You gotta come back." And they're all crying. It's very emotional.
It's good too.
And then the other scene's weird.
I was gonna say it's good too because this is contrasted again. This very emotional talk by the other girls playing a crane game because Hayasaka's like, "Hey, if you can." Because he ends up at, like, an arcade. He's like, hey, if you do what I say and win this crane game, I'll talk to you about Irie. And so, emotional talk, and then the girl's, like, trying to play a crane game.
And it's constantly cutting back and forth between the two scenes.
And you're like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's like, this is I would think the biggest thing of what you're talking about. Yeah. Or at least this is the one that drives me crazy the most. Where, like, we're trying to have this dramatic talk with the three girls, is like trying to get Irie to come back. But then meanwhile, it literally cuts back and forth like 10 times to all the other girls just trying to win a crane game. Why are they there? Why is Hayasaka there if he told them they only have 10 minutes to make a decision? Where did he come from? Where did he go? Why does he need these crane machine plushies? Why does them winning the crane machine make him want to work with them more? I don't understand his way of thinking. I don't understand this scene.
Yeah, and also, again, like, I feel like this is, like exactly what you said, Star, is I feel like the whole thing with Irie, it would have hit me or resonated with me more if it wasn't, like, again, constantly cut back and forth with, like, a completely cartoony scene. Because it makes, like, the things that are supposed to be serious feel like, hey, this matters as much as a crane game.
Yeah, I feel like there might be more later and I'm just forgetting, but I feel like of all the scenes we've covered, this so far is the most egregious example of that.
I agree. Actually, I feel like specifically this episode, like the first few episodes, I was like, the show is like, you know, a little weird, but I think it's cute and I can start liking it. But I think specifically, actually, this part was like, this is gonna be a pattern. That, and again, this is also the one that made me really irritated about Mayu as a character, because I feel like she, as a character, she kind of felt like Love Life coterie to me. Does that make sense? Where she's just so passive.
Yeah, kinda.
And whatever she does is so passive compared to everything else. But at the same time, she's passive. But the point of her character is she's supposed to be the reason why all these people are making these decisions. So they're putting a lot of pressure, like not even like the show, the way they're framing it is like, this is the most important character ever. But the character is just like, whatever my friends say. You know, she doesn't have much of a personality herself.
That is fair.
Yeah.
I guess my big reason why I like her character is it's kind of a trope I enjoy. I've discussed this in the past of like, she's kind of the senpai idol who's been in it. She's a little bit like jaded by it, but she still like comes back to it. And I also kind of like identify with her character quite a bit.
I feel like I would like that more if they played up more the senpai thing. But like a lot of it is less like, oh, I know about the industry, and more like, I don't know anything, so I'm gonna put pressure on Yopino, or say Airi's important even though I'm the best singer. You know, it's just like, it doesn't quite mesh with how they're emphasizing her.
Yeah, it's like, I can kind of see her behaving that way as a, like, she's still kind of hesitant about the whole thing, and so she doesn't want to take center stage. But that's not really played in the show very much.
So hopefully, my hope for her is that season 2, with the conflict of season 1 being resolved, is maybe I'll start liking her more.
Yeah, what I think, like, okay, so full disclosure, I have not seen the entirety of season 2. I've only seen the first couple episodes. I'm gonna go watch it for our second episode. Yeah. We're both gonna watch the movies and then season 2. But I think the vibe I got from the second season is that, yes, this main conflict is over, and now it's just going to be a lot more slice of lifey. So I feel like you, Sarah, will enjoy season 2 a lot more.
I'm very curious to see how it changes, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, because season 2's buck wild. Like, the tone is completely different. They changed animation companies. We'll talk about it more once we get to that episode. But we've got weird things in store in regards to Wake Up Girls.
But I guess, again, this was kind of the point of the anime, where it's not like I hated Wake Up Girls, right? Like, it's just that I feel like...
You hate how they're written.
I'm really... It's more like I'm disappointed. Does that make sense? Like, it felt like there was a lot of potential, but they didn't quite hit the mark. So it wasn't a bad anime, but it just feels like there's, like, you watch it, and then there's, like, a bit of... There was many things that they could have done to make it stronger, and it feels like I'm let down because it feels like some of these things were really easy for them to do.
Yeah. Hey, Sarah, you know what you just said?
Huh?
You basically just summed up my problem with Love Live!
Yay!
Yay!
Same thing, same feel. Yeah, because honestly, it's the same thing, where I know, like, you don't, like, hate Love Live. It's just that there are parts where you're like, I can see exactly where you could tweak these scenes and make it a good show. And it's the same feeling.
So how you feel about Wake Up Girls is how I feel about Love Live.
I think that's exactly
full circle.
It. Full circle! And it's, again, I don't hate the characters. Like, there's some that annoy me, but I know that they'll get better potentially in the future if they do it well. Yeah. It's just like, it could have been different.
It's like, this could have been so much better. You were so close. And then you spent half the episode on a crane game.
Yeah, it's like you have an itch and you're like scratching like an inch, like, you know, like a centimeter away. You're like, you're that close.
You can't reach this itchy spot, and so it's just extremely unsatisfying.
Yeah, I think that's what it is for me. So anyways, they end up talking to Hayasaka, and Hayasaka's like, all right, I'm going to give you one more chance. You're back in for now. Because they won the crane game, I guess, he decided that.
Yeah, and okay, so, like, to be completely fair, it was not just a whole thing about the crane game. The idea was you gradually, as they're trying to get these plushies out of the crane game, you gradually see them going from fighting and bickering and yelling at each other to working together, cheering each other on, etc. So that was the objective of the crane game. Still a dumb scene, though.
Yes. or at least, like, don't cut it together. Like, do one scene and then do the other scene.
Yeah, for real.
Not intercut. Yep. So Irie ends up agreeing. She comes back. They're all at the arcade. Hayasaka's like, okay, I'll let you back in, but you have to, like, actually take it seriously and convince your audience that you're actually worthy being an idol. Don't worry about convincing me, convince the audience.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's a real mood.
Yeah.
She's like, I hope to make you acknowledge me someday, and he's like, don't worry about me, worry about the audience, because they're the ones that matter.
And then...
I'm like, yeah, I vibe with that.
And then at the end of the episode, he brings up the, I guess I would say, main goal conflict of the rest of the anime, which is they are going to be entering an idol festival / competition.
Yep. Yeah, it's like a national... It's Love Live, but without the school idol concept.
Which, I wish that they picked something else, but it's okay. Yeah. This is the formula at the era.
Because, Sarah, this is the whole thing, right? Because, like, at the beginning of the show, they're talking about, like, we're going to aim for this red and white concert, and that never comes up again after this point.
So maybe it's in the future? We'll see.
Maybe. It's just, like, I don't know what this is that they keep bringing up, and it's not resolved by the end of season 1, so, like, what is the red and white concert? You never... Because, like, they mention it in the movie, they mention it several times in the early episodes, it's like, this is what we're aiming for. And then once they introduce the Idol Festival, it gets completely dropped.
Yes. Though also at this point, right around episode 8, is when the animation quality starts getting really bad.
Yeah, so Sarah, do you want to talk about the animation for a little bit? Because I know you're dying to talk about it.
So, Wake Up Girls, the movie, was actually really pretty. Because it wasn't this also animated by A1? I could be wrong, but
I'm not sure. You keep talking, I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, it sounds good. So, again, Wake Up Girls, the movie, like, everything, like, the shots were full 2D with, like, some 3D elements, but the 2D looked really good. The characters moved like you would expect in an anime, not necessarily anime movie, but, like, a higher budget anime show. The TV show itself, when you got into it, you could tell, again, the quality was a little lower because it was a show. But as it progresses, very, very slowly, the animation quality starts, like, degrading.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just, like, at the beginning, it's just, like, maybe when characters are far away, they'll be, like, off-model. And you're like, okay, they just put, like, the C animators on, like, the far-away group shots. And, like, they brought the A animators in for, like, some dance sequences or up close. But then as it starts going on... people in the foreground more and more start having, like, sliding off eyes, or, you know, everybody's arms are behind their back so you can't see their hands.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point where not even, so sometimes you get the wonky animation for still frames, so you're like, the C animators are there, but they're not having them do anyone who's moving, maybe just lip flaps. But then they start doing people who are moving. And it's just so wild. Like I remember
you texted me several screen caps.
I have a phone full of pictures, and sometimes I can't even take screen caps because it's like how they move. Like I think it was episode 8. There might have been a scene with like Mayu at her home, and she's sitting up from a chair, and like she morphs from being like small to large to small. But like her she's on model visually in each frame, but her size like is just like she's like growing and shrinking and morphing. So like you can't take a screenshot.
I can't control
it's
my
like
size.
A GIF. It's like this needs to be like you have to see it animated to see how off model it was. So
oh boy.
So
hey Sarah, let me interrupt you for just 1 second. This was not done by A1. I've never heard of this production studio before. It lists studio as Ordet, but also Tatsunoko Production. Did the first movie and the first season of the anime, and then they switched for the second season, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, so the other thing that happened is, so Wake Up Girls was meant to be a seasonal show. So that's usually, a way to put it is that usually animation studios are like, they're like hired or contracted to do different anime. And usually they're contracted to do the anime for like 1 season. And a lot of the times, these companies will be working on the anime as it's airing, right? So they might be like a month before have an episode finished and then put the next one out that week or every other week, depending on their schedule. But from what I was reading, apparently this animation studio, for some reason, was having a really hard time keeping up with the demand of having a seasonal show.
Yeah.
To the point where I think we both discovered, we found that thing where the director was like recruiting animators on Twitter.
Yeah, he was just like near the end of the show, they were just like, hey, we need help. And he was like on Twitter being like, hey, does anybody want to help us with Wake Up Girls?
So it was definitely they had people who were either untrained or ill-experienced or potentially not even vetted start, because again, people who are untrained work on anime, but usually they're sent to be like characters in the background, or like, you know, like, so like background characters, not main characters, or like faraway shots, or like unimportant shots, or like still frame shots, and someone else will do like blowing hair or mouth flapping. But this time, it looked like they had, like, the C animators doing the keyframes.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the Wikipedia for this production company.
Mm-hmm.
And the only show on here that I recognize, they did Wake Up Girls. They also did Pre-Para a couple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And they also did Pretty Rhythm, which is kind of the predecessor to Pre-Para.
Yes.
But this company's been around since the 1970s.
So they have been in production, but for some reason they had trouble keeping up with Wake Up Girls.
Yeah. Not sure what the tea is there, but the point is that there is some, and it shows in the show.
Yes, definitely. But I loved it, right? Because again, at around like episode 7, episode 8, I'm like, I'm getting kind of bored of the repeating, like, there's a problem, but it's not that serious, and it's, you know. So I was just starting to enjoy looking for whenever they went really off model. It made me so happy.
Like, they're, like, Sarah's talking about this, like, she's not exaggerating. Some of the shots are really bad. Like, if anyone is familiar with the concept of Madoka Maguka, it's like that level, but they're not even in the background. It's foreground characters, and they look like Madoka.
Yeah, and, like, sometimes, like, you see them, and you're like, I don't know which character you're supposed to be. Your ponytails are too short to be Miyu, but they're too long to be Minami. Oh, it's so enjoyable.
Secret Nico incursion. Just turns into Nico for one shot.
But it's just enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you found something to enjoy.
It was the best. I loved it so much.
Yeah. So, okay. So now that Sarah had her time to talk about animation, I'm glad that you got a moment to discuss that in the show, because you were texting me very excited about some of the wacky shots.
So happy. Like, I'm not complaining. I am so happy the shots were wacky. Like, it stands out to me as something I will remember.
What would be the Madoka title version of Wake Up Girls?
Ooh, okay. Ooh.
You think about it. I'm going to start talking about the next show.
Okay.
The next episode. So, episode 8.
Yeah.
So, Hayasaka gives them a new song that he wrote called First Rate Smile. And then he leaves dramatically.
Yeet.
Yeet. He self-yeets out of the room. So we get some more scenes of iDOL practice. Mm-hmm. And they talk about the iDOL festival. So the idea is that they are going to have idols competing in like regional tournaments and then a final showdown in Tokyo. And the winners of this festival will be considered A1's rivals.
Yes. Which is like, you know, iDOL, like, if you're really worried about having rivals, you don't have to put on this show. They won't get the publicity without you.
Yeah. It's like, you don't... whatever.
Also, and I just wanted to note, like, at iDOL Club practice this time, because before, like, some of the background girls, even though they would be, like, 3D models, like, they still had faces, but in this one, none of the girls had mouths. And it's like, oh, this is a deep metaphor that when you join iDOL Club, you lose your personality and your voice.
It's like the Little Mermaid, but fucked up.
Oh yeah, they did this intentionally. It's not because their rendering is bad.
It was a metaphor.
It's a metaphor.
It's symbolism.
Also, I think it would be called We Got Girls.
We got girls.
We got girls.
See him? We got him.
That's the Madoka title. We got girls.
I like it. 10 out of 10. Sarah, so now what I need you to do is I need you to make a collage of all the screen caps you took and make a fake shitty logo that just says We Got Girls in the same general title as Wake Up Girls. That's your new assignment that I'm giving you.
Okay, sold.
We can put it on a t-shirt. It's copyright free.
We Got Girls.
Listen, they have Hikari Zuka instead of Takara Zuka. We have my favorite anime, We Got Girls.
We Got Girls.
Maybe that's the name of the evil crab shack.
We got girls.
We got girls. We got them. They're here.
There they are.
Anyway, oh god, my face hurts from smiling.
Anyways.
So, we get some more A1 or I1 practice. A1 is the animation studio. I1 is the rival idol group.
Mm-hmm.
So he kicks out a few more girls. They talk about the idol festival. Shiho gets a flashback of Mayu saying that she can like idols after leaving I1. Later, they find out that Hayasaka's been working with WUG, and it's like a whole thing.
Yeah. So
Hayasaka. Yeah, you go.
I was gonna say, so at this point, not only the girls, like the I1 girls, know that Hayasaka's been working with Wake Up Girls, but also their president, Shiraki, also finds out about Hayasaka's double idol time.
Evil, creepy president.
Yes.
And so he's like, well, you know, if Wake Up Girls has Mayu in the group, they might actually do well. So, Wake Up Girls gets more details about the festival. It's basically what I already said. Mm-hmm. It's a countrywide event with local competition leading to a big arena live in Tokyo for the finals, and then the winner is going to get a big contract with a record company.
And so, Tenge and Matsuda tell the girls, like, hey, we're gonna do this, and most of them are excited, except after Nanami's like, hey, I want to speak to you about something. I don't want to enter this competition because I need to focus on my Hikari Zuka application.
Yeah, so she wants to take the entrance exam, but she needs to study, so she just very matter-of-factly says, so I'm not going to be able to participate in this festival.
Bye.
Bye. Literally just bye.
But like at this point she leaves, but at this point all the other girls go to a pancake cafe that Minami like covered during their food show, and while they're there, Shiho shows up at the pancake place along with like the other I1 club centers because I guess they're doing a shoot there.
Yeah.
And at some point, like after the I1 Club shoot, Shiho takes Mayu aside and is like, hey, I'm going to talk to you about something. And so they start talking, and Shiho talks about like the deal with Hayasaka. And then also she's like, hey, you have to be good at this performance because otherwise you're going to be a disappointment to I1 since you were a former member.
Mm-hmm. And also I'm going to crush you.
And also I'm going to destroy you because I'm a Shiho.
I'm such a Shiho.
Such a Shiho. And this definitely gets to Mayu, because after this point, she starts getting, like, a little bit more on edge.
Mm-hmm. And so she's like, we have to take practice more seriously. We have to practice like I1 does. We have to do better. You or else we're not going to be able to beat I1. And they're like, since when was beating I1 the goal?
It's like, we thought we just wanted to, like, you know, be successful idols. We don't have to be the Walmart of idols. But at the same time, at practice, Hayasaka's also being tough on them, being like, you know, you're not being hard enough, Mayu's right. Which kind of only gets her more on edge.
Yeah, and at some point, all of this just finally bubbles over, and Yopi's like, why won't you tell us why you quit? And Mayu just runs out. So
Kaya suggests having a bonding trip.
Yeah, Kaya's like, yeah, we need to bond. We need a bonding sesh.
My aunt has a hotel. Let's go there.
Yeah, so we're at episode 9 at this point.
Yes.
So the president is like, yeah, you guys can go on an overnight trip. They also briefly talk about Nanami's thing and how they haven't figured that out yet. But so they're on a bus ride to this other town. Mm-hmm. And like for the main girls involved in this conflict, so that's Mayu and Yopi, and also kind of Kaya, the ride there is very tense.
Yes.
Like, they're obviously still moody after this fight at practice.
Mm-hmm.
They all go for a jog together, because it's partially training.
Yes.
And Kaya falls behind, just kind of like stops jogging as fast, and she just kind of like stays behind and talks to Mayu. And this is where we get some Kaya backstory.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a Kaya episode, but also kind of a Mayu episode.
Yeah, and you only get a little bit with Kaya, even though it's around her area. She's like, hey, I lived here, I was raised by my aunt, and then I left. And you're like, oh, we'll find out more later.
Yeah. So later.
It's later.
Yeah, it's later. So basically, Mayu goes out for like a pre-sunrise run. Kaya wakes up, notices she's missing, goes out to look for her, and then we get some more Kaya. Turns out that she lost her parents really young, and then her aunt who runs the inn took her in. When she got old enough, Kaya basically ran away from home, couldn't bring herself to go back. Something about a childhood friend.
Yeah, that one was weird to me. Like, it wasn't really explained.
Yeah, no, because I was confused because she said that, like, she got a letter saying that, like, a buoy from the ship was found, but I thought at first it was, like, her parents' ship. But then it turns out, like, she had this childhood friend who taught her how to be good at things. And it was like, when I was a kid, my childhood friend taught me that if you want to get good at stuff, you have to challenge people who are better than you. And that's why I can't ever give up on something, even if I suck. But then this childhood friend, I guess, went out on a ship and then the ship sank and then they never found it.
They didn't say. You don't know.
It's like, I understand, like, dropping hints, but the narrative was not very well conveyed here, and I'm still a little bit confused about what happened exactly. The gist of, from what I understand it, is that her parents died very young. She had this childhood friend. Her childhood friend also died, and so now she's like, I'm gonna do good at stuff for the people who can't be good at stuff because they're dead.
And speaking of stuff, what's up with you, Mayu?
I mean, that's basically what the segue is.
Yeah.
So, Mayu finally spills the beans. Episode 9. We finally find out what happened to Mayu, and can I be honest? Kind of anticlimactic.
It's super anticlimactic. So basically, Mayu tells her real story. So she's like, when I was 12, I joined the iDOL group because I like singing, and because I was so naturally talented, I was chosen out of thousands of applicants. And then apparently iDOL was like that from the start. So like, even though they were a smaller company back when Mayu was 12, they were still like, you are a iDOL first and you're a human second. So I think what they said.
And like the evil presidents like always refers to them with numbers. So Mayu's like number 3 or something.
Yeah, and she's like, it started out being kind of fun, but then it stopped being fun, and then people start getting like eliminated or like, you know, fired for arbitrary reasons. Like,
yeah,
hey, you sang the note wrong, goodbye. And then,
hey, someone took a picture of you hanging out with a dude at the park, and that's a scandal. You're gone.
You're gone, goodbye. And then at some point, she has like a little iDOL friend she's friends with, Sarika, I think.
Yeah, that's her name.
And then at some point, Sarika gets eliminated. And she's
because like she had a boyfriend and somebody found out. She has a full breakdown. She's like, why am I not allowed to have a boyfriend? Why is this dumb? And then the president basically says that like, if you love someone other than your fans, you're no longer an idol, you're trash.
Yeah. And so Mayu goes to the president and she's like, you shouldn't have done this, you're wrong. And then president's like, you shouldn't talk back to me, we're gonna have a competition, and if you lose, you're fired.
Yeah, so basically, they're releasing 2 singles on the same day, one with her as the center and one with Shiho as the center, and if Mayu's CD sells better, then he'll overlook her talking back to him, but if Shiho's sells better, then she gets fired. And so
pretty much immediately,
wins.
Shiho wins. So like, they don't really go through how that happened, they're just like, and Shiho won, so I got fired.
Yeah. So Mayu tells her mom, like, flashback Mayu tells her mom what happened. The mom gets extremely upset, is like screaming at her, is like, I sacrificed everything for you, this is all your fault. We find out that, her parents actually, I guess, like, the stress of Mayu being an idol got to her parents so much they divorced because of it.
Yep, I guess so.
And so the mom has a lot of baggage around the whole idol thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just doesn't seem like a good mom in general.
Nope, does not.
Nope.
So Mayu's like, I relate to this because I also ran away from being an idol, like you ran away from loving your aunt. And you're like, okay.
But so basically, apparently a lot of people were trying to figure out why Mayu had to graduate and quit so suddenly, and so there were a lot of rumors going around, a lot of rumor mongering, like, people were saying is like, oh, there was, like, some money laundering or something, oh man, what if she got caught in a scandal, what if she was, like, there's sex scandal or something, and Mayu's like, it wasn't all of that, but it's still, like, all the rumors, it put so much pressure on me, it was kind of traumatizing.
Yeah.
But then she still wanted to join WUG to just make herself happy because aside from all the bullshit, she still did enjoy being an idol and performing and stuff.
Yeah, so Mayu's backstory was that, I don't know, it feels like it doesn't make sense. Like, I get that they're super evil corporation, but it still is like...
Yeah, it's just so like they spent the entire series leading up to this, and it's not nearly as dramatic as you'd think it was.
And she didn't even defend her friend that hard. She's like, don't do this! And then he yells back. He's like, oh, never mind. You're like, ah.
Yeah. I mean, I can sort of understand it, because she was like, what, 12 at the time? But still.
Yeah.
But still.
But
it's like, I'm not entirely, like, hating this, because, like, on this one hand, like, I kind of get is like, you can't talk back to the president because you're like 11 and he's being a dick to you. But also,
that doesn't feel like enough reason for this guy to fire her, you know? Like,
well, I don't know. They fired other girls for lesser reasons. So I mean, I don't know.
If she was like a top seller, this guy's about making money.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that is true.
It doesn't make sense on that level.
Yeah, it's like, I wish that if they were gonna spend this much time leading up to the backstory, it would have been something a little bit more substantial.
Yeah.
Either spend less time leading up to it, or make it something more important.
Or alternatively, especially since you tried to get Shiho to be like a villain earlier, make it less like, oh, I had a like company-sponsored rivalry with Shiho, and more like maybe something actually happened with Shiho.
Yeah, who knows? It's like, I feel like they revved up Shiho to be this big villain, but all she really does is, like, twiddle her fingers and be evil sometimes.
Yeah. But after Mayu tells her story, Kaya's like, hey, you should tell everyone else too. And they're just standing there being like, thank you for telling us.
Yeah, turns out they were just eavesdropping on this whole conversation.
Which is good, because that way, you know, she doesn't have to say it all again.
Yeah. So Mayu apologizes for not telling them for 9 episodes. Yopi apologizes and says she'll do a good job as leader, and asks Mayu to be honest with her, which, like, good, yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nanami, in response, is like, oh, fuck it! And she brings out, like, the application papers for Hikarizuka, which I guess she's just been carrying around, and she tears it up, and she throws it in the air, and she's like, fine, I'll commit to Wake Up Girls! And then they yell at her for littering, and they have to pick up all the scraps, which I thought was kind of funny.
That's it.
Yep.
Episode 10! So,
Episode 10!
Apparently, they passed the initial screening to enter the iDOL competition, but I'm assuming the initial screening was pretty lax considering some of the other groups. So basically they are gonna have their like regional prelim thing first, and the way that works is that I guess there might be judges later on, but this one is all like audience vote.
Yeah, and so they're trying to think about what their appeal is, and they can't figure it out. And so they start asking like their audience and stuff, and they get a lot of comments about themselves as individuals, but not really anything about the group as a whole.
Yes. So at some point, during all this time, they're working hard, like their mini 3 concerts every other week, like their little venue grows. At some point, they're walking back from practice or a concert. I think it was Mayu and Yopi, and they run into a rival idol group.
Oh god, yeah, this scene. Talk about this scene.
And they're called the Demons of Oga. And they're just like these 3 girls, and they have like demon outfits, and they're like comedy idols, but like they're wearing their like over the top costumes and threatening about how they're gonna crush this idol group.
And like one of them has a yo-yo, and she like yo-yos at them ominously,
which again,
or threateningly.
What's the tone supposed to be? I don't understand. Do you want to be a serious show or a lighthearted show? Or at least don't cut these so close together.
It's like they want to be serious, but they can't help that they're an anime, and so they keep having to throw in this weird stuff.
Also, at some point around here, I accidentally typed Mayo instead of Mayu, so I might refer to her as Mayo every once in a while.
Yeah, my favorite group, Wake Up Girls. It's got the members Miyu, Mayu, and Mayo.
Mayo.
Good luck telling them apart.
Mayo, yo.
Oh, that's the secret.
Yeah.
At some point, there's a scene with Mayu and her mom. She tries to talk to her mom about the idol thing. The mom just doesn't want to listen. She says, Mayu apologizes. It's like, I'm sorry I left I1, but I couldn't stay there, and I'm way happier now. I want you to come to the preliminary concert that we're doing for this idol competition. And the mom just ignores it and just leaves.
Also, meanwhile, their fans, same fan we saw in their movie, are planning their battle plan. So they're like, we're going to have these
posse now.
Shirts. This is what our call response is. These are the light stick colors. We're going to go hard. I'm so proud. They're so good.
It's worth noting that they're having this conversation very loudly, just in a random diner, and people are, like, staring at them. And at some point, the manager has to come be like, hey, can you guys, like, tone it down?
Chill out, guys.
Chill. So the girls get their new costumes for the Idol Festival.
These are so cute. I love these costumes. They're like little, like the colored candy canes? They're like those.
Oh my god, that is kind of what they're like.
I love them.
Yeah, they're not like, I like the green ones better.
Mm-hmm.
I like parts of these and parts of them I don't like. Mm-hmm. I feel like the yellow is a bit too strong. They're like mainly like royal blue and yellow.
Yes.
And it's quite a contrast. Like they're flashy, I get it, but they're not my favorite.
So yeah, they have their outfits. Backstage they like do like a little stomp thing. And they're like, yeah, wake up girls, let's go. And then it's the concert and this is the best scene in the anime.
Would you like to talk more about the animation,
I
Sarah?
can't. It's just, you have to see it. It's beautiful. It made me so happy. I was pausing like every 5 seconds to take pictures. Like, it's the most beautiful thing. And like, even when they weren't having the girls dance, they would go to the audience. And like, like you would see like Matsuda and Tenge and they were like posed in like a I can't draw hands pose. And then like the only people that were animated really well consistently were like the otaku. It's just like, what's going on?
Yeah, so they're at this concert scene. It's they're definitely running out of steam for animating these dance numbers.
It's like this is the one time where I'm like, maybe it'd be better if you did 3D.
I've had that exact same thought before, definitely. It's like, props to you guys for not wanting to use 3D, but like maybe you should have.
I mean, they did also use 3D in the shots. They used both. They just didn't use either of them well. It's so good. I love it so much. This is like my favorite concert scene ever. Like the song is really cute.
They did clean this up for the Blu-ray so you can see the comparisons, but even the Blu-ray is not like perfect.
Oh, it made me so happy. Like I love wonky animation. It gives me so much joy.
Well, I'm glad.
Well, like, here's the thing, too, is, like, I'm a professional animator, so that's what I do as a job, and so I'm, like, constantly, like, micro-picking, like, my 2D animation rigs, and then I see this, and I'm like, I'm okay! I don't have to stress so much! This just gives me happiness!
It sounds like me with writing during the Samurai Jam episode.
Yeah! You're like, oh, I don't have as bad imposter syndrome as I thought.
Because if something like this can get produced, maybe I don't suck that bad after.
Yes, absolutely. It just gave me so much joy.
Oh, man. Anyway, so the concert scene is important because A, the animation is great.
It's so good.
B, Mayu's mom does end up showing up. And you see her in the audience, and she is moved to tears by this performance.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, my daughter's happy. And then Mayu does see her and also starts crying on stage.
And then Wake Up Girls wins the Tohoku block. So, like, think about how bad the animation for the other groups must have been.
Oh my god. I'm trying to say more things, but my face literally hurts just from laughing.
It just made me so happy. Like, I sound like I'm ragging on it, but it's like they were legit out of time, and crunch culture in anime is awful, and I forgive it. I just love it. It just gave me so much happiness.
Mm-hmm. Crunch culture is very bad.
Yes.
You should not engage in it, but also sometimes it gives us these beautiful gems.
Yes, absolutely. It was beautiful. I loved it so much.
Yeah. So the episode ends. Wake Up Girls wins.
Yep.
Everybody cries and hugs it out. They're very excited. Later, Mayu, because she didn't join as the audition, she apparently had just been working with this group and had never actually signed a contract. And so, but apparently her mom...
Mayu's like, wait, you guys are getting paid.
Wait, you guys are getting paid? Oh my god. But yeah, so she's been working like a whole year almost without signing a contract, and so they say that like her mom apparently came by the office and signed the contract for her and said, take care of my daughter.
Aww.
Which is the mother's way of giving approval for her to be in this new idol group.
Yay.
But then...
the other big dramatic side is that on TV, iDOL, like the 4 main girls are on there, and they announce that they are going to be releasing a new song with the finals for this competition, and it's called First Straight Smile. Which is the song they just sang for their concert.
Yep. And so episode 10 ends. We are now on episode 11. This may be our longest episode yet.
Yeah, because of that movie.
Yeah, as we're recording this, I'm thinking Wake Up Girls is going to be 3 parts, isn't it?
Is, yeah.
Well, that's fine. It means we can talk about the movies more.
Yeah! So episode 11. All the girls, they see this thing, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do about the fact that one of their songs is now an iDOL song.
Yep, and because iDOL is releasing it on CD, there's going to be legal issues with Wake Up Girls performing it, even though you'd think, like, they performed this well before iDOL ever did. So you'd think that people would be able to figure it out.
That was owned by iDOL, that was live streamed by iDOL to the world.
Yeah, like, you'd think they'd be able to fight this a little more, but apparently they didn't make Hayasaka sign a contract that said that the song belongs to them, so he just went like, I don't care about this song anymore, give it to iDOL, and I'm gonna get you guys a better song.
And so, basically Tenge's like about to strangle him, and he's like, no wait, I actually do have a better song, I promise.
Yep. And they make him sign a contract, thank God, because like, you'd think they would have... President, you've been in the industry long enough. You should know to make people sign contracts. Like, jeez.
So the new song they have is apparently a lot harder to sing and to dance to, and requires a whole lot more stamina.
And this is also, conveniently, this is 7 Girls War. The opening song now exists in universe.
Yes. So they are working on making this song real and happening. Meanwhile, iDOL is also working on their Smile song, and they're struggling, which kind of shows like, oh, this actually was a hard song for iDOL as well as Wake Up Girls.
So the fact that Wug did it shows he was like, oh, they actually are good at this point. That's good. And then, like, Shiho still being a Shiho and talking about is like, we're gonna crush Mayu. Even though they aren't competing with each other. iDOL is not part of this competition. It's just the winners of this competition will be regarded as iDOL's rivals.
Yep.
And they are going to be performing on the iDOL stage, but they're like, because they use the song, because Wake Up Girls use the song first, people are going to compare us and we have to do better than them. We have to not suck.
And it's like,
so that we can crush them.
It's also like, yeah, like you feel like the president as a business decision would be like, no, we're going to commission you to do a different song, dude. But nah.
Yeah. It just feels like a weird plot
Very
choice.
weird, yes.
Anyway, so we're in the lead up to finals. The students from the movie who bothered Mayu and like asked her about the rumors, they end up asking for her signature.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, they actually like her now, I guess.
Yeah, we like never see these girls except for those 2 scenes, so it's like, I guess things change. I don't know.
They also have their, like, weekly concerts, and their concert audience has gotten bigger. So it's like, oh, they've already, like, gained publicity just from the prelims.
They have, like, one last rehearsal. Hayasaka gives them a lot of tough love, but does acknowledge that they've improved. Mm-hmm. And he says, is like, you're not perfect yet, but pursuing that perfect score is what it means to be an idol.
Yeah, and then also Yopi gives out, like, these, like, scrunchies to everyone, which they wear as part of the final concert, and it's like, these are good luck scrunchies.
And they don't match their costumes.
No, not at all.
Also, Mayu's mom apparently made her a scarf, which is just one more maternal approval sign.
Yes, there you go. A scarf.
Yep. I made you this scarf to keep your neck warm with my approval.
And then there is, like, a bunch of scenes of, like, all the girls getting ready for their trip. And at some point you see Yopi and she's, like, taking, like, antacids. So you're like, oh, she's getting nervous. She's getting, like, tummy aches. Yep.
The girls head to Tokyo. They're all really nervous, especially Yopi. You repeated shots of her taking this medicine. They have rehearsal at the arena, like a dress rehearsal, and on their way off stage, Yopi trips on a microphone wire and twists her ankle, like, really badly.
And dies!
Like, her ankle turns all the way around, like a full 180, and then she falls on her face somehow.
And dies.
And dies, and that's the end of Wake Up Girls. Yep. Anyway. But she's able to get back up, and she keeps walking around on it, but then she realizes, like, at the end of the episode, she takes her shoes off and realizes it's, like, dark red and super swollen.
Yep.
And she's like, oh, fuck.
So episode 12.
Last episode!
So episode 12, it kind of, like, directly carries on from the last episode. So it's time for them to, like, do, like, their last, like, on-stage dance rehearsal time, like, not just the stage viewing. And during this dance, Yopi is, like, all over the place. She's obviously not singing well or dancing well, and pretty much all the girls notice immediately.
Yeah. So after rehearsal, there's like, okay, what's up with you? And she shows them her ankles all fucked up. And she's like, they're trying to figure out what to do. She starts crying. Mayu suggests that they drop out because she's like, I don't want to have to perform without you. We should just drop out for now. And Yopi super doesn't want to because she's like, we came this far, we can't just leave. And then suddenly, who appears?
It's Shiho, and she's not as much of a Shiho.
Because she's like eavesdropping out in the hallway, and she hears them saying we're gonna quit because of Yopi's injury. And so Shiho comes back, and she's like, I'm not gonna let you quit. I brought some nurses who are gonna fix your foot.
Which is like, actually, why didn't Tenge and Matsuda call some nurses in the first place?
Now that you mention it, yeah.
Like, that would have been the first thing you do as, like, a manager. Yeah. You're not like, oh, we're gonna quit. You'd be like, I'm gonna take care of this person who I'm contracting who's hurt. So... Yeah,
I mean, I didn't write this down, but I feel like at some point it's mentioned that she should go to a hospital, maybe? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's mentioned that, like, after you should go to the hospital and get it checked out. But at the same time...
Oh, well, that's like... Yeah, that's after the nurses patch up her foot. They're like, this will hold for now, but afterwards you should go to a hospital. Yeah. But no, yeah, I guess before that, it's not even an option that they bring up.
No, they didn't worry about going to a doctor, but okay.
Womp. Anyway, so Yopi's feeling a lot better, but the girls agree that they need to change some of the choreography so there's less jumping, so Yopi doesn't strain herself and make it worse.
Yep. So they practice that until the concert. And then the performance starts, and Shiraki comes on stage, and he's like, you know what it means to be an idol? The meaning of being an idol for me started on 9/11. And I'm like, he gives this, what the fuck are you doing right now?
This weird speech about 9/11 and Broadway and how it relates to being an idol.
Like,
and I'm like,
I know he's supposed to be the bad guy, but, like, this is really bad tone, guys. Like, really not something you should do in your anime.
No, this scene was just, like, super weird. And it's funny because, like, even at some point, it cuts away to the I1 girls, like, watching this on a monitor, and one of the girls is like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Like, I don't know what 9/11 is. And you're like, yeah, they need to be here, guys.
It's like, what is this scene? Why is this here? Did you just... What is this?
Did the director think it was a good idea?
This scene is like 2 minutes.
Oh my god.
this 2-minute long speech about 9/11 and being an idol, and I'm like, is this actually happening? Am I having a fever dream? Did I go to the hospital?
Are they really, like, are the producers really this tone deaf? Literally.
Apparently.
Yeah, but I guess, anyways, right before the concert, Yopi is thinking back, she's like, wow, it's been a full year since our animation was decent, wasn't it? And... and they go on stage and have their concert.
And their solution to not being able to animate dances well is to just not animate the dance hardly at all.
Oh yeah, they kept cutting away.
They cut away from the dance for like half of the song to watch the president and Matsuda have a conversation.
Yep. There's a part where like they're having a conversation and then you just see some legs go like they're cartwheeling. And it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's like, to be fair, they do animate the chorus, but like the entire first verse of the song is just Matsuda and the president having a conversation.
Yep.
Like while the concert is happening. I'm like, I want to see them dance. Why aren't you showing me the dance? This scene about idols, this conversation could have been had instead of that 9/11 talk.
Maybe the 9/11 talk was added to cover for the fact they didn't want to animate the dancing.
Oh my god.
But also during their concert, like their little tiny group of Wake Up Girls fans is in the front and they're cheering and their glow sticks are green for Wake Up Girls because of their original green outfits. But the rest of the audience is red for iWon Club.
Or just like not on at all.
Yeah. And one thing I think is funny is they come on and the audience is like whispering like, oh, is that Mayu? Who are these girls? And I'm like, didn't they just have a prelims that were streamed? And aren't you fans of iWon? So wouldn't you know about the competition they're putting on? Like, why is this surprise to you guys?
It's like they come out and there's no applause. And I'm like, you'd think that someone would be clapping for them. Not everyone in this audience is going to know the drama.
There were live streamed prelims, guys. You guys are fake idol fans is what I'm saying.
God, get with it.
Get with it.
But yeah, so it is cute because, like, as the song goes on, people start coming around. They're like, oh, hey, this actually is kind of a good jam. And then, like, slowly the audience glow sticks all start to turn green and the audience is, like, hyping them up.
Yeah.
And at the end of the song, they're, like, chanting their name dramatically and it's really cute. Oh, also, Yoppies get so hyped from the moment. There's like a big jump near the end, and like right before it, Yoppie like whispers to Mayu, he's like, Mayu, I'm gonna jump.
I'm gonna do it.
Like,
I'm gonna do it.
And then I'm gonna jump. And then she jumps and stumbles, and two of the other girls have to catch her. But it's like, I was just too hype. I had to do it.
Yeah. So, iWon, meanwhile, was watching their concert backstage, and they're like, yes, we recognize you. Senpai has noticed you.
Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, they don't suck after all.
So the girls finish their song, they're backstage, they're all like crying, happy, and then they wait for the announcement of the winners. Yeah,
I will say, like, oh, yeah, so, no, this happens first. So then they announce the winners, and, Wug does not win.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like some other group wins, but the girls are still happy, and we get like a short little backstage scene of Mayu, I think, talking to Miyu, and she kind of repeats her monologue from the beginning of the movie about like making yourself happy or making others happy, and she kind of repeats that monologue and says like, I can finally make myself happy, Wake Up Girls is where I belong, it's a very cute little moment. They don't win, but they're still happy about it, so yay.
But then there's also a weird scene where Hayasaka's like watching like the winner and he's disappointed, and then Shiraki comes up, he's like, hey, they won, like afterwards. So it's like
they actually won, and I'm like,
that's like
whatever.
It's like diminishes all these emotions. Like, why did you add this to your anime?
It's like, I don't care about you. Move over. Show me more of my girls. It's like the
same thing where it's like you were so close to having a stuck like an ending where you stuck the ending, but then this like didn't.
There's like weird drama with these characters we don't care about happened.
Close. Yeah. But anyways, they go back. There's like a little bit of a goof where like Tenge had put like a lease on like a fancy new office because she was like hoping that Wake Up Girls would win. And so and
then when they didn't win, she has no money and she's like hiding from this phone call. But it turns out the phone call is a Tokyo record label offering to sign them because they saw their performance at the thing and liked it, and nothing bad has ever come from that.
So they're gonna go mainstream.
And so they're like, da 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 da, and then it's like, to be continued, but that's the end of the anime.
The end! Wake Up Girls!
The end!
Yay!
The end for now! So, after this, we get 2 more movies, just like short movies like the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And based on how long this episode ended up being, I'm thinking we're probably gonna make Wake Up Girls a 3-parter.
Yeah, because there's 2 movies instead of just one in the next one.
Yeah, there's 2 movies. So it's, I forget the exact name. So it's like The Shadow of Youth and then Beyond the Bottom, which is a wild name translated.
Huh.
And so we're gonna watch those next, and then we will come back and we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the first movie, but I haven't watched the second one. But the second one has my favorite song in the show in it.
I'm so excited.
Like, I've seen the concert scene from the second movie, and it's phenomenal. So I'm excited to talk about that, and like those outfits and that song are so good.
Heck yeah.
But yeah. And then after that, we'll probably have a 3rd episode about the 2nd season, which again, I've only watched a few episodes of, so I'm excited to finally finish it.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how different it is.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, yeah. So, final closing thoughts, Sarah?
Again, it just feels like season 1 was like you had an itch and you got really close to scratching it, but you didn't.
Yeah. I mean, like, my thing is, I genuinely do enjoy this show despite all of its problems. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the problems are important to talk about. Mm-hmm. And that's true of any show that we watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's like, if we just heaped praise on every single show we watch, this would be a boring podcast.
Big agree.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe there's creatives in our audience listening to this, and maybe you'll learn something about how to make a satisfying idol anime.
Woohoo! And I think it's always fun, too, when you and I have different opinions on a show. Because I feel like we both learn a little bit on, like, the flaws and pros of things that we have different opinions about. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to, like, hear different perspectives and, like, have a nice, genuine conversation with someone whose opinion you trust. That's you for me, Sarah.
I trust no one's opinion.
Oh no, mine pride.
Anyways, we got girls.
We got girls.
We got girls. We'll see how it continues.
So Sarah, if people want to find out about our girls, where can they go?
You can go to our website. That's idoldays.carrd.co. That's idoldays.carrd.co. That's with 2 R's. We also have
or idolilluminati.net.
If they want to find us on social media, where can they find us?
So we are on both Instagram and Twitter as @IdolDaysPod. That's IDOLDAYSPOD on both Instagram and Twitter. I am the one in charge of our social media, so I like to post like random pictures and questions for you guys to interact with us and talk about shows and various things. We also have a Discord server, so there's a link on our website. I feel like we need to start posting the link like in the episode descriptions, but I'm not sure how that would work. Mm-hmm. I might start doing that. But yeah, so if we can get it to work, there will also be a link in the episode description where you can join our Discord and talk idols with us.
Yeah!
Because we want to talk to you guys about your idolus, and I've already threatened the Discord that as soon as this episode goes up, I'm gonna start screaming about how much I love Wake Up Girls music.
And I'll start posting some of my favorite screenshots.
Oh, good. So you guys have something to look forward to in the Discord now.
Yay!
Is Sarah's animation corner, where she just shows you guys wonky "We Got Girls" screen caps.
We got girls!
We got girls!
I love it, though. Like legit, like, the fault is not the animators. The fault is the crunch culture of seasonal idol anime. So the bad animation, I just enjoy. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's a bad thing culturally, but it's a great thing for me.
It's a great thing for Sarah to see and enjoy and then make a collage of.
Oh, yes. We got girls.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and call that an episode. Thanks for listening, everybody. Come back in 2 weeks for our part 2 of Wake Up Girls.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, thanks for listening.
We've been Lady. See you next live. Bye.
Bye.
Like, it feels like a theme song more than an anime song. Or like a
For
Sentai.
like a dramatic show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, did you say hentai or sentai?
Sentai!
Okay.
I said sentai! But oh my god, this show!
I'm like, I don't think it goes quite that dark. Also, how many hentai have you watched that you know what the theme songs sound like, Sarah?
Stand up!
Golly. Golly gee, we're learning I'm learning so much about my co-host today.
No, like Sentai, like Power Rangers.
Hey Sarah, what do you think a Sentai hentai would look like? It's like it's like they go into like their power poses and then they transform, but their transformation sequence is just them ripping all their clothes off.
Oh, okay.
It's the Sentai hentai.
I was thinking it'd be the other way around where it's the hentai, but then they have to fight the crimes. I can't, they're like...
Listen, these two things do not have to be mutually exclusive. I think we just came up with our new IP.
Oh no,
I'm not gonna write it.
I don't want this IP. Do not attach my name to this.
Oh boy.